Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to my 2023 album tier list. So, a little introduction here before we get started. So, this is going to be long, of course. I have 150 of these to rank, and so timestamps will be included in the video for you to kind of hop around and see my opinion on whatever album you happen to be interested in, and also be sure to check the very end for like the actual full tier list to see maybe if I moved that album's placement at some point. These will be ordered within tiers as well, although, like, for example, Not My Cup of Tea, I'll get around to this, what this tier means. This won't be ordered. Okay, let's go over the tiers real quickly. So, D tier and S tier, maybe even an E tier, if I feel like one deserves of it, an album is deserving of it, are going to be pretty subjective. You know, it's just like, I really liked this album, or I really didn't like this album. I'll try and be more objective here between like A, B, and C, and B might get spread out into like B- or B+, depending on how many get in there. But, yeah, so Not My Cup of Tea is for stuff that I was just kind of experimenting with, and just I think it's a good album, but like it's just not kind of something that I enjoy personally. And there'll be a couple albums in there, I believe, so I won't name them right now. But yeah, so we'll get started here. So, starting with the first album I listened to was Drukqs by Aphex Twin. So Aphex Twin is a EDM artist. That's probably super not accurate to what he actually is, but he's pretty cool. This was my first time ever listening to Aphex Twin, and it doesn't show my likes here for this specific album for some reason, but I enjoyed. It's a very long album, which docks at points a bit. I mean, it's an hour and 40 minutes. It's a lot. 30 songs as well. Whew, this was a lot to get through. But overall, I enjoyed it to an extent. It was my first introduction to breakcore, I believe is the correct term. And I had a great time. I didn't like as many songs off of it as like I was expecting to. But, I got some stuff on here. Obviously, Avril 14th is a classic. Which one? Whichever one he goes drum machine on. I really like the electronic drum songs specifically. Let me give a few listens here. Right, because like a lot of these are just like, and it's not going to play audio, but like a lot of these, they're just kind of like, this one's pretty slow. This one's pretty cool. Like, I just really like Vod Husband, but a lot of it's kind of the similar vibe where it's just electronic music with like no lyrics except for like little samples of Aphex Twin himself kind of popping in, and it's good. Now, as to where I'd rank it, let me pause the music. Okay. So yeah, let me change this. It's going to take me a bit to get used to. This is my first time using OBS. But yeah, as to where I'd rank this album, I think I need this open right now. Where is it in here? Oh man, this is going to be a bit to find out where Drukqs is in here. There's that one. Oh man, it's gotta be in here. Yeah, here it is. Found it. Okay, so Drukqs, just kind of off my initial like feelings towards it, is kind of in a B tier. Like, it was a good time. A lot of it flowed together. It was very long to sit through, which you might be like, well, that's not how you're supposed to listen to an album like that. You're supposed to listen to it in parts. Well, I mean, I guess we can account that in, but just my experience with it was a B tier. It's got some good songs. I'm not going to deny it. I mean, it's a 30-song album. There's going to be good songs on it. But like, a lot of them just kind of run together in my mind, and it kind of just overstays its welcome a good bit. Still a solid album, though, overall. Moving on to our next album here, which is I believe Kid A. So Kid A, and my friend will corroborate this, I didn't like it at first when I first listened to it. I wasn't very impressed. I had listened to OK Computer and The Bends in the previous year, and I thought they were pretty good albums. I really liked OK Computer and The Bends. They were like A tiers for your information. But Kid A, I was like, well, I mean, this was okay. I wasn't really blown away by it. But then I re-listened to it, and while my like songs really didn't change, I think I like added Optimistic or something on my second listen through. The actual like experience of listening through Kid A was crazy. It was really good. Everything in its place is like a great intro. Oh man, listening to it right now, it's great. Obviously, National Anthem is really good. How to Disappear Completely hits really hard. I love the atmosphere. And another thing to add on top of that is there's this little like game or something that was free on Epic Games that had free on Epic Games that allowed like a playable version of Kid A and Amnesiac. Or I don't remember the actual full name of that album. It's like Amnesiac. But the vibe mixed with the music from Kid A and Amnesiac, which I haven't listened to yet, was crazy. This is a great album. Very very objective, of course. I love the atmosphere of it. I love the vibes. I love the kind of feeling of isolation, I guess you kind of get from Kid A. At least that's what I get, at least. It's a different type of feeling that I don't really get out of a lot of albums that I really liked. Yeah, that was a pretty quick one. So moving on here to Eureka by Kino Kote Koku. I probably butchered that a lot. This is like Japanese shoegaze, or at least some parts of it are. Like, very, very interesting. Like, it's just chill, you know what I mean? Like, most shoegaze albums are just kind of like, it's a mix of that kind of like vocals and like the distortion effect on a lot of their instruments. Not all of their songs are like this. Like, I believe this one might be different. Like, me more in your face. A bit, yeah. It's a bit more different. Like, the vocals are a lot more pronounced. But overall, this album has this one's a lot, yeah, not as shoegazy. So it's basically like a J-rock album, I'd say. But it's got an interesting vibe to it. It's got great vocals. It's got some very catchy, very catchy, like, choruses. Like, Another Word is a banger. It's really good. I don't know how to say all of these titles except Another Word. But, like, this one's pretty good. Obviously, I liked it. It's also, like, a nice one to throw on in the background as well if you, like, are doing something. It's pretty chill. I like it. It didn't really like move me like other albums did this year, but I'd still say it was, where is it? I'd still say it's by A tier. Because I have a more memorable experience with it over Drukqs, which I really was just like, okay, we're just doing the next breakcore song, which, again, sounds like I'm complaining because a breakcore album has breakcore on it, but I'm complaining that it didn't feel different enough in order to be in the same album, if that makes sense. So moving on here to Untitled by Billy Porter. So I'm not super familiar with Billy Porter outside of like a handful of songs. There was this one song they had that I listened to. I believe it's Child or something by Billy Porter. It's like a very in-your-face kind of pop song. It's very good. Billy Porter has an amazing voice on that. So I was like, I'll check out some of his earlier work. And I believe this album is 1997. It's R&B. It's very R&B. Like, which one is it? I think it's All I Do, or maybe it's Love Is on the Way, that is just like very like maybe boys, nah, kind of Boys to Men, except it's one guy, Billy Porter. It's it kind of like felt like I was transported there, given some of the content of the songs and all that. I have a few songs liked on this, but genuinely the rest of these songs that aren't liked are just kind of like mid. Like they're just not, they don't really, they're not super original. As I say, like very like reminiscent of like that early R&B, Y2K R&B, like Boys to Men or all that stuff. It's there's nothing that really sets it apart besides just like Billy's great vocals, which can definitely help a lot of these songs. I mean, it definitely helps in this song at least, and can differentiate himself a bit. But other than that, all of these other ones are either like they don't stand out, or they're just genuinely just not very interesting at all to listen to. So I'd say it's, if we're going back to the tier list here, if I had to rate this Untitled, where is it? Here it is. If I had to rate Untitled, it's because it's not very like original, and Billy definitely I think changes from this album, at least from what I can tell, considering his most recent work that I've heard. It's just, I don't know why you would listen to it over like some of the other R&B albums besides like a handful of songs. Like I would never recommend the whole album. Drukqs I could recommend. I guess I'm kind of using Drukqs as like a baseline to compare everything else off of. But like for this one, it's just like Drukqs I could be like, listen to it if you're like really into breakcore, or you know, like anything like that. It's got some really, it's good in the background. This one is just like, I mean, listen to a handful of songs, but don't really like spend your time listening to the album. It's fine. It's a high C or maybe like a low B. Actually, yeah, it feels good to do like a B minus. That's what it'll be, a B minus. We'll have to change the colors a bit to match that. Perfect. It's like a B minus. I don't think it's like C tier, but it's just like, I mean, if you got the time, I guess listen to it. But that's about all I'd say about it. Moving on here, we have Century Child by Nightwish. So Nightwish is a symphonic metal group. They've been around for a while, but I don't know how long. 2002. I don't know what, they've had like multiple singers, and I don't know what singer this is on. Maybe it's their second or something like that. I'm not super well versed in Nightwish's kind of history. This album though, it's very epic. You know, it's I mean, that's most of symphonic metal, of course. That's what you get with the genre. You get a very epic experience that kind of just like raptures you, especially some of their longer songs, like Phantom of the Opera, Beauty of the Beast, The Wayfarer. Like some of these in the middle, there's a reason I probably didn't like them. It was probably they felt like too similar to each other, which like their songs are good, you know, like they're good from probably like an objective standpoint. But a lot of the times with albums, it's like I like it when the album feels like it's like moving along in terms of like tone or sonically. So like if there's like a lot of songs that kind of sound the same or kind of like flow together, they're just kind of mid. You know, I can still like the album, but like these songs especially, like all of them from what I can remember, kind of just sound similar to these other ones, which are already good. You know what I mean? Like they're just them, but in my opinion, kind of not as good. As for the album itself, though, it's a great experience listening through. It kind of dulls down here in the middle, but the start is very strong. The Dead to the World, Everdream, and then the ending very strong. Beauty of the Beast, oh, beautiful. Lagoon's also really good as well. So it's got a bit of a middle point. but I wouldn't really necessarily say it's a bad middle point. It just kind of drags. So I'd still say it's a really good album. Where is it? There it is. Still say it's a really good album. Is it as consistent as Eureka? I don't know if I'd say it's as consistent as, well, it's pretty consistent. It drags a bit in the middle, but I mean, like, those songs are still solid songs. Like, they're not, I'm going to put it under Eureka, though, because I feel like Eureka is a bit more of a tight package compared to this one, and it just feels better to listen to, in my opinion. So, moving on here to the next album we listened to, another Nightwish album, Once by Nightwish. This one, I love its, like, it has a different atmosphere. And I do like Wish I Was an Angel. Wish I Had an Angel. It's just this version. I think I had like a copy of it, so I didn't like it again. But like this album is a lot better than Century Child. It feels more consistent. Not consistent. It feels more like a better listen through compared to this one, where this one drags in the middle a lot. It has Ghost Love Score, which is amazing. Check out the 2013 Live from Wacken one with their third singer on it. Flores Jensen. It's amazing. But other than that, like Romanticide, the I believe the guitar, let me check. Where is it? Yeah, the guitars in this album are insane. They're so good. Wish I Had an Angel's great, and this also incorporates a lot more of like the male vocals. I don't remember this one incorporating them that much, unless it was like small, but like Wish I Had an Angel is mainly male vocals. This song's so good. Obviously, like the singer's the main focus, but I like it when the male singers also kind of hop in, because it kind of provides a nice contrast, and it helps make the album it helps the album flow a little better, because you don't have to deal, it breaks up the singing a bit as well. This album is much better than Century Child, in my opinion. So I'd say it definitely at least goes above Century Child. There we go. So it's going to go up. I think it's probably better than... this one's pretty subjective, because it's basically just like, which genre do I like more? Do I like shoegaze, or do I like Once? I'd say they're pretty equal in terms of like consistency and listen through, or like listenability. So they're pretty close. They're not, I wouldn't say one is like better than the other, or one is worse than the other. I'd say this one's up to just which genre you like more. And right now, I like this one better, just at the moment. But they're like neck and neck. Perfect. So moving on here, we have The Cold Sun by Loathe. Now I've listened to a previous album by Loathe. Let me find the album. It was I Let It In and It Took Everything. I listened to that last year, I believe so. And it was very hard. It was a very hard album, and I think it might not be my cup of tea. I like some of their songs. For example, like I really liked I Let It In and It Took Everything. That had like some good songs on it. This one was just kind of disappointing. I kind of really didn't really like. It all kind of felt the same in this album. It wasn't like like it was, I Let It In and Took Everything kind of felt the same way. Like I liked Aggressive Evolution. I liked Gourd, Heavy as the Head. Yeah. Stuff like that. Like I liked those songs, and I like some of the songs on here. Which one is it? I think Self-Titled Loathe is good. Like I really like the song. I just don't think I like their style as much of music, and it could be just like maybe the genre isn't up my alley, but I don't think I can fairly rank this in terms of the tier list. So I'd say that The Cold Sun by Loathe is not my cup of tea. I just don't think I like it that much, and I probably won't like him that much if I tried to listen to another album of theirs. But this doesn't mean they're bad. Doesn't signify quality. There we go. Like it's just not my thing. so that's why I put that down there. Moving on here, we have Infest the Rat's Nets by King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. Now, obviously, you can tell by the likes that I really liked this album. But King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, I discovered last year. Well, I had heard of them, but I didn't listen to any of their albums until Nonagon Infinity, which blew me away. I loved Nonagon Infinity. It was in my S tiers for my last year album ranking. So I was like, okay, well, I need to listen to more King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. And this was, I believe it's like one of their more popular albums when I looked on the list here. I guess not. I mean, it's pretty far down there, to be honest. But I still, like, heavily enjoyed it. It's a lot harder than Nonagon Infinity. It's just a different vibe, I'd say. Nonagon is, like, pretty, psychedelic, I'd say, or it's very like fast paced. Like it really gets you going, get you in like a fast pace. This one's like, ooh, it's like, yeah, real in your face. This song's great, by the way, Superbug. This one has this one's very aggressive, in your face, totally distinct compared to Nonagon Infinity, and it's I love it's kind of like it's like commentary, I guess, like for Mars for the Rich, kind of just talking about this hellscape, from what I can gather, of like the future, if I had to guess. Overall, a very consistent album, very fun to listen through, and to kind of rock out to, I guess you could say, which I thought I wouldn't say about a King Gizzard album, because they're usually more like not chill, I'd say. They're a bit more chill. But yeah, that one, it's really good. Infest the Rat's Nest is really good. I'm going to put it in A tier. I'm going to put it probably at the top of A tier, because it's really consistent. I'm not going to put it in S tier because it didn't like blow me away like Kid A did. But don't worry, Kid A will not be alone up there. Moving on, we have Pressure by Wage War. So Wage War, I believe the genre is melodic metalcore, which is basically just like metal, but you got like clean vocals over it. So for example, they had an album Manic, I believe, recently, which I really liked. I really liked Manic. But they have a very like kind of distinct style where they usually they're clean vocal. They have like very clean choruses, and the verses can sometimes be heavier or not. This album I don't remember much from. I just remember it being like, fine. None of the songs like blew me away. But nothing really like stood out to me. Like there's no like standout songs I'd say on here. I mean, like the songs are good. Like Me Against Myself is a good song. But I'm not gonna be like looping this song. I'm not gonna be like playing this song on repeat. Like it's just like if it pops up in my shuffle or something like that, if I'm just like listening to this type of music, it's just like, oh yeah, that was a good song. So it's not gonna like blow me away. And that's kind of just this whole vibe of this album, from what I recall from it. Because I feel like, I definitely would have remembered some of these songs if they like really took me by storm here. But most of them are just like, yeah, it's good. I mean, that's all I can really say about it. In my opinion, it's the diamond one. In my opinion, I think that Pressure by Wage War is probably a pretty solid B tier. I wouldn't say B minus, because it's at least like, I guess, distinct. Granted, I haven't delved too far into melodic metalcore, but they're distinct to the other music that I've listened to in my life. So that kind of stands them out a bit more. Like same with like breakcore here. So I enjoyed it, but I wouldn't really say it's like I'm not gonna revisit this album. You know what I mean? Same with like Drukqs and all that stuff. Anything from like A on up, I might revisit, but like B tier is probably where the cutoff, where it's like, I'm probably not gonna revisit this. But yeah, it's just mid. It's just fine. Mid has a bit of a negative connotation, but like it's it does. It's the middle of the road. Middle of the road, in my opinion. So moving on here, we have Dookie by Green Day. Now this is like a classic album or something. Like everyone talks about this album all the time when they talk about Green Day. And for those who aren't aware, Green Day is wow, that's embarrassing. I forgot the genre. I mean, you've heard of Green Day. I mean, who hasn't? They're like, yeah. Wow, I can't remember. I can't believe I forgot the genre. But either way, they're like a classic. You have Welcome to Paradise. You have Basket Case. You have When I Come Around. There's so many hits on this album, and it's just kind of was it their first album? I believe it was. I mean, it's their most popular. No, it wasn't. I'm not as familiar with Green Day as other bands, but I mean, there's a reason this album especially kind of like shot Green Day into the stratosphere. Like it's really good. It's really consistent. How long is it? It's kind of short for how many songs that are on it. It's just, you're always gonna be like rocking out to this album when you put it on. Like even if you're not like a huge fan of like, I don't know, Longview or something like that leads directly into Welcome to Paradise. And then you got Pulling Teeth, which leads directly into Basket Case. Like you're always gonna have a good time, and something's always gonna like keep you moving along when you go into this album. It's just super consistent. And it's just super good too. Got a lot of bangers on there. Where is it? So it's going to be an A tier, which might seem like blasphemy, but it's definitely better. I feel like this feels right. I'd probably rather listen to Once than It, but I mean, that's just kind of just preference. All of these albums are really good. Moving on, I believe it's another Green Day album. It might be American Idiot. Yeah. So American Idiot I don't like as much. Obviously, it has classics like American Idiot, Jesus of Suburbia, Holiday. But like other stuff, so like this song is pretty forgettable, in my opinion. Also, they do this thing a lot, or at least this album does, where they combine songs. So like Holiday, Boulevard of Broken Dreams, excuse me, The Extraordinary Girl, Letter Bomb, Give Me Novocaine, She's a Rebel, all this stuff, and it's just like, don't do that. I mean, I think I like Extraordinary Girl, but I don't like Letter Bomb or something like that, and it's like, I just don't want that other part tacked onto it. Now, I know some streaming services, like I think split up Holiday and Boulevard of Broken Dreams and stuff like that, and I think that's what I have too. But other than that, it's just like, don't do this. It puts too much risk of someone not enjoying it as much. This album does have a kind of strong ending. Homecoming, What's Her Name? What's Her Name is such an underrated hit on this album. I love this song, or at least I don't hear it brought up a bunch when I talk to people about this type of music. It's such a good song. Obviously, you start off strong with these three, and then you kind of have a middling kind of thing here, or sometimes just straight up like kind of like bad, and then you kind of end strongly too. So it's got things going for it, and it's got like some hits on it, obviously. So like the first three songs are all iconic. I guess first four, because these are two songs. The first four songs are just iconic. She's a Rebel, I think, is pretty iconic. At least I remember it being said kind of like played a lot. It's definitely like a legendary album. But I personally am just not like super into it. I'd say it's probably around this, where it's definitely not as good. These don't feel right being next to each other. Yeah, I'll probably put it there. That feels right. That feels right there. Yeah. That's kind of my thoughts on that album. Moving on here, we have BABYMETAL's self-titled album. BABYMETAL, of course. Obviously, BABYMETAL, if you haven't heard of them, they're kind of a, what's it called, like kawaii metal, I think is the official like name for that genre. But they're basically just like J-pop mixed with metal, and they have some really good songs. Like I have this liked on a separate album, so I didn't like it here, but I do like the song. Very like pretty good like backing instrumentation. And like obviously the like J-pop vocals contrast very well with the heavy metal kind of aesthetic. And so like the choruses hit really hard, especially on BABYMETAL. They're very good at making just banging choruses. What else? They have some stuff that's like Line, I believe, is just like straight up like just like it's got some heavy stuff in it, but like they got some other stuff that's like more like lighthearted as well. But overall, they're very, very fun to listen to. Like I just love the contrast, and it really makes it interesting. However, this album itself has some bangers on it, like Headbanger or Megitsune. I'm so awful at this. Line is really good. Obviously, you can tell by the likes, but like this album overall is just pretty forgetful. Like you're mainly here for the hits, in my opinion. You're not here for anything else, and so like you're just gonna skip through it basically. Like you're gonna, in my opinion, skip over "Gimme Chocolate." I don't like it. It's overplayed and it's not very good. But you're gonna just skip through this album because you're gonna want to get to the hits that you like. And you're not going to really want to deal time with all these other songs on here. So that I don't think that really plays to its strengths as an album. It just has good songs on it. Which, I mean, is fine for an album. But it's fine for just like individual songs or for like a playlist. But for like an album, you don't really want that. I'm going to put this in C tier. Because just like I would never recommend this, Untitled by Billy Porter, but we'll keep this in B-, because I feel like that's kind of how I'm dealing with that. In which case I'll move this down there too. Yeah, yeah, perfect. Moving on, we have another BABYMETAL album, Metal Galaxy. I believe this one's shorter. Yeah, it doesn't help that their albums are also long, which just makes them a lot more of a commitment. So this has a very strong ending, this album. Most of like the beginning part is fine. Nothing too crazy. Nothing too crazy. But then as you get to the end here, you got Papaya, you have Kaguru. Oh my god, just Shine. Oh, it's so good. Such a great like collection of songs here. And like if this was just like an EP, which is these 5, it'd probably be S tier. Like it's great. But it has all this other stuff attached to the forefront of it. And it's just like, okay, I mean, it's okay, you know, it's nothing too crazy. It's just not that strong of like an overall album, in my opinion. There it is. So I'd probably just like move it down here. I'd recommend the ending of this album. I would never recommend the album itself. I'd say listen to these 5 songs and you're good. Maybe some of the other songs I liked on there, but other than that, it's just like, I think their first album, actually now that I think about it, their first album's kind of the same, where I would just recommend the songs off of it rather than listening to the album itself. Like American Idiot, I'd recommend you listen through, because I feel like it's a pretty cohesive album, even if some of the songs, you know, are like paired together, or like sometimes it's not very good at parts. I'd still say it's like a cohesive listen through, and rather than just these where it's just like listen to some of the songs off of it. Okay, moving on here, we have Awaken, My Love by Childish Gambino. This one has Redbone on it. That's about it. No, I'm messing, but it's fine. It didn't really, I like the atmosphere of it. Like, it has a very interesting like sound that I don't experience a lot. Obviously, Redbone is a major hit. I love Redbone. It's such a good song. But even then, I mean, this album shows off a lot of Childish Gambino's like vocal range, especially Redbone, of course. But not even just that, like Boogeyman here shows like he's doing some crazy vocal stuff here. The kind of like the theme of the concept of the album of him like discussing like his love with his wife, and like it's kind of made for his kids and all that. It's a very cool album in terms of the concept and all that, and also it's got some bangers. Redbone, Boogeyman's great. I believe Baby Boy is the one I'm thinking of that's also really good. Maybe not. Oh wait, might be Terrified. Oh yeah, Terrified's so good. Yeah. So if I had to rank Awaken My Love, it's definitely going to be like probably A tier. Now compared to these ones, now I didn't like as many songs off this album, but in terms of just like the experience of the album, it's definitely like better than these. And also just is like an interesting experience. I'd probably rate it more than that, but probably on the same tier as Eureka, in my opinion. Yeah, that feels about right. Moving on here to Frontiers by Journey. This is a banger. It's really good. It's got a lot of hits on it. What else? Chain Reaction, obviously Separate Ways. What a strong start to an album, dude. Great way to set the tone, get you hyped up. Oh my god. I love this song. It's such a great song. Let's see, Rubicon's really good, Frontiers is good, Troubled Child, Edge of the Blade. Just you're gonna have a great time listening through this album, in my opinion. It's just you're gonna be rocking out, man. It's got obviously great singing on it, stuff you can just belt along with. It's got in terms of instrumentation, obviously it's pretty iconic. It's Journey. Yeah, very good. I can't really say much besides it's just good. You know what I mean? Where is it? Here it is. So this, I'm gonna create a new row that's just A plus. This album's so good. Gotta adjust the colors real quick. Perfect. Anything else I'd move up to A plus now that I have that tier available. I'll probably move that up there. That's pretty good. I'll do that. That looks about right. Yeah, that feels right. In our separate ways. Okay. So, moving on here to Too Low for Zero. So, I know this is going to be a bit of unpopular with a couple people I know. But Too Low for Zero by Elton John. Obviously, Elton John's pretty iconic. This is an 80s album, I think. 80s, yeah. Early 80s. It's long. The songs are, and I have to get this out of the way, the big thing about this album is the songs are so repetitive. Like, they basically just repeat the chorus the entire time, especially Dreamboat here, which is just basically the same chorus over and over. I can't, like, point it out here, but it's just like, dream on, dreamboat, ba 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 ba, and it's basically just that over and over and over for 8 minutes. However, and I know this can get, like, tiresome to some people, I love it. I don't know. It's a very good, like, I mean, I don't know if you'd want to listen to this album like directly. You'd probably want to, like, throw this on in the background, in my opinion. Which, I mean, I guess that you could put that into the quality. But I think this album is just, like, a fun listen to. However, it can't be your main focus, which docks at some points. Because, I mean, you could debate on whether that should affect the quality, but I think compared to the albums I have here, like Kid A, Frontiers, stuff like that, you could definitely listen to these as your main focus. Starting into, to like Drukqs, you probably wouldn't have it as your main focus because there's too much sameness to it, which you might be like, oh, the thing with Too Low for Zero, it's not really samey, it's just repetitive. Sorry, I'm stretching a bit. So like Too Low for Zero, I could definitely not listen to with my focus on it. Wage War, I could. So I could put Wage War in like a B. Nope. No. Oh my goodness. 1 second. B minus A. Okay, sorry. So like Pressure by Wage War, I don't think you could listen to this as its main focus. Probably more than Drukqs, but I'm still gonna keep it in B tier because I feel like it deserves that. So if I had to rate Too Low for Zero, which I believe is this one, yeah, I'd probably put it in between Drukqs and Pressure because it's not as like samey as Drukqs, but it's also too repetitive to really be focused on. Pressure you can listen to, you can put your focus on, but like Too Low for Zero, that's when you start to lose it. So these are good background albums, and the songs they do have are good for the background. Again, and now that I've said that, I think that should be the differentiation between B- and B tier. Because B- is just like, it's good background music, you don't really want to focus on it. But B, it's like, you can focus on this album. You can focus on American Idiot easily, without, like, I guess, losing focus on it. With these ones, you're going to be, like, dreading it. Especially when you get, like, Dreamboat, and you're like, oh, he's going to do the chorus for the 6th time. However, overall, I don't think it's a bad album. So moving on to Rick Astley. So I listened to Rick Astley's entire discography here. So we'll get kind of basically an indirect ranking of that too. So Whenever You Need Somebody, it's his first album. It's got the classic. Never Gonna Give You Up. Together Forever. Those are like the 2 big hits you've heard. But it's so late 80s. It's so 80s. Which one is like especially Don't Say Goodbye, maybe? Now me personally, I'm kind of a fan of that type of music style. They usually have really fun choruses, very fun to sing with, and just kind of like groove too. However, I know this isn't everyone's cup of tea. And usually most people would just say, well, you've heard Never Gonna Give You Up. You've heard the Rickroll song. You've probably even heard Together Forever. But if you haven't, listen to it. It's a great song. But just like all the other ones, it's just, it's fine. If I had to objectively rank it, it's nothing too crazy. And it's, aside from Rick Astley's baritone vocals, like, it doesn't really differentiate itself from similar stuff you could find at the time. Which kind of docks at some points, objectively. So, like, where is it? It's here somewhere. But it's nothing to write home about. I love it, personally. But if I had to actually, like, rank it, it'd probably be, like, B tier. It's got a few hits on it. The rest of it is kind of just, like, there. You could focus on it, though, I think. You definitely listen through the album, although it might get a bit repetitive, but not as repetitive as these two. But yeah, that's kind of my opinion on Whenever You Need Somebody by Rick Astley. Moving on to his second album, which is Hold Me in Your Arms. This one, I have songs liked on it, don't remember a thing about it. It's just has not stayed in my mind at all, but it's basically just this album, but again, it's literally a year after. It's just like, if you really liked this album, listen to this album, because it's pretty much the same thing. And you might be like, well, of course it's Rick Astley. All of them, he actually does differentiate later on, but this one is just, I think his studio just wanted him to make more and try and become a hit again, so they just made him pump out another album of the same stuff. And just for the fact that it's so similar to his first one. Oh, I did see it. It's basically the same thing as this, but it's about on the same tier. I mean, this one has more hits, so I'm gonna put it above it. But it's if you like this one, listen to this one. Let me get the name right. If you like Whenever You Need Somebody, listen to Hold Me in Your Arms. Like that. That's what I would say. Moving on to Free, the next song, or the next album. This one is a bit different. It changes up a bit. It's got some more, like, I mean, it's still pretty similar, but it's got some songs that are a bit different. Like, The Bottom Line is, it's a bit different in terms of, like, its vibe. When is this album? Early 90s. It's, I'd say it's, personally, I think it's about on the same tier as, personally, I'd say it's about on the same tier as these two, but it's also, like, I like it more than this one because it actually is a bit different. It sounds a bit different. But in terms of, like, actual quality, it's not as good as this one, but I think it's better than this one. In terms of just, it sounds different, and he was actually experimenting a bit more within the confines as he could, of course, given his studio. But this one, Body and Soul, the next one, it was him trying to, like, make an album that he felt like meant something. If I remember correctly, he was trying to like make a good message. This one sounds the most different compared to, like, these two, and it sounds a little bit kind of close to this one, but it's different enough. This one's probably his most different album, pre hiatus, I'd say, because I think this one is like, yeah. So pre Rick Astley hiatus, this is his most, like, experimental song. His most experimental piece of music. So it's definitely it's better in my opinion. He actually, like, you can tell there's a lot more effort put into it, or, like, he cares more about it. I put it above Free because I think he does a better job on it, and I'd probably put it above Whenever You Need Somebody, personally, because I like that he puts more effort into it on this one, and he's like, you can tell he really cares about what he's writing about in terms of the lyricism and all that stuff on display. Yeah, so this is kind of my ranking of this. I'm debating these two because this one's more consistent, but this one he actually, like, experiments more, but it doesn't result in as good of songs. And some of the songs are kind of similar to this era too. Yeah, so that's how I'd rank these. Now, post-hiatus, actually, we have Cracker Island by Gorillaz. So I'm a big Gorillaz fan. Oh, wait. Moving on, sorry about that. We have Cracker Island by Gorillaz. I am a major Gorillaz fan. I'm a huge fan of Gorillaz. And I know that there's, like, different ways to be a Gorillaz fan. You can be a fan who's a fan of, like, their old stuff. You can be a fan who is, like, new stuff. There's, like, new age Gorilla fans. And then there's, like, do you like it when they're, like, super experimental, or do you like it when they're more consistent? Now, I will say a lot of their albums, they're genuine. They're generally pretty experimental in terms of, like, what they do and, like, the songs on it, but this one is probably, like, yeah, their most consistent album. Like, it just kind of runs together pretty well. Not runs together in a bad way, but, like, runs together as in, like, it kind of flows atmosphere wise or vibe wise. So, like, Cracker Island is and a lot of these were singles as well, like Cracker Island, Silent Running, New Gold, Baby Queen, Skinny Ape. Like, half the album was singles before they released this album. But, like, it's got some good features. Stevie Nicks is good. This is probably the most controversial song on the album, in my opinion, because, like, Booty Brown does not have a very good verse or any good verses on this song, but the chorus is pretty good on New Gold. It's got a lot of good songs on it, though. Cracker Island is really great. Silent Running is amazing, even though I know that one's really subjective. Baby Queen's really good. Skinny Ape. Possession Island is a great end to the album. It's a great ending song. And I think this whole album is really good and really consistent. I wouldn't say it's a great representation of most of Gorillaz' work, but I'd say it's still a really consistent and good album that you can kind of like just listen through and pay attention to, and it'll always keep you invested. Compared to these ones, A+ feels maybe a bit too generous for it. Maybe like high A tier, because these are all like, it's good, and I'm heavily biased towards Cracker Island, but I don't think it like does enough really, and it doesn't showcase enough of like the Gorillaz' strengths to really warrant me putting it higher. Yeah, like these all showcase like their band's respective strengths. Like Eureka is a great showcase. Now, granted, I haven't listened to much of Kino Kyotaiku, or whatever the band is officially pronounced as. I haven't listened to like any of their other work, but like it feels like it's a great showcase of their strengths as a band, especially since it's such a good album. This, however, you listen to Cracker Island, and then you try and go to like Demon Days or something like that, or even like Humans, and you're gonna be like, oh well, this is not what I expected, which is good for Gorillaz. You know, I mean, you like experimentation, but this is just not a great way to get into them, I'd say. Yeah, that's how I'd rank that. Moving on, we have Keep It Turned On, which is from Rick Astley's hiatus when he came back after Body and Soul. Now, this album recently got removed, recently being like a lot of months ago, got removed off Spotify, so I can't actually revisit any of these songs, but I remember really enjoying this album. I remember it being like very like upbeat, and you might be like, well, yeah, all of his albums are upbeat, but this was like upbeat in like a kind of a different way. I can't really describe it, and if I was able to re-listen to it, I'd be able to describe it better. But just going purely based off like my memory of the album, I remember it being probably around there, maybe here. It's a pretty I remember it being like really good, having like some really good songs on it. Like, I think Keep It Turned, no, wait. Might be Breathe, maybe? I don't know. It's been a while since I've heard this album, and it sucks that Spotify removed it, because I would have been able to more accurately rank it, but just because I can't remember too much of it, I'll put it down here in order to just be more fair about that, kind of. Yeah, I certainly like it more than these albums. It's kind of on the same tier, but I like that it was different, I'd say. Portrait is literally just a cover album, I believe. Well, not a cover album per se, but it is basically him singing a bunch of like pop standards. So like some of these songs might be originals, but I think something like Portrait of My Love is not, or Nature Boy. Like, I think I've heard these songs before, but it's basically just a cover album, and I don't remember why he released it. I think it was just he was getting back after Keep It Turned On. He was just wanting to make something. I don't remember, but it's just, I don't know. He has a great voice. It's interesting hearing some of the songs in his voice, but like it's nothing like crazy. I would probably put it down here maybe, because it's nothing to write home about. We haven't used D tier, but I don't actively hate it, so I'm not going to put it in D tier. Yeah, that's probably how I'd put it. Yeah, I'd put it here, because, again, even the songs that I do like off of it are just not original. As far as I know, these aren't original. Most of these songs are covers or standards that he's just going over. That's why I don't barely any songs liked from it. Moving on to 50. 50 is super forgettable. I don't remember like anything. Oh wait, yes. 50 is when Rick Astley made a gospel album. That's what that's what 50 is. And I like some of the songs because gospel music can be good now and then. Like This Old House is it has the vibe of like oh man, it feels like Christian movie type of material. Now I don't know if I can like accurately rate this album, to be honest with you, because it's just a different like vibe of music than I usually listen to and that I usually like enjoy. But even some of it, like Pray With Me, like I'm not religious, but like I enjoyed that song, and I would listen to it again. You know what I mean? However, I think just in the fairness, because like obviously a lot of those songs I didn't like because of how like overt they were, I'm gonna put it in Not My Cup of Tea. If I had to like genuinely rate it, I'd probably put it in like maybe down here, maybe at the bottom of B tier, in terms of compared to these guys and compared to these albums, or maybe here, maybe B minus, because it's just doesn't really have enough. I mean, it's a simple enough listen through, but you're going to get the point about 5 songs in, and then that's when you're going to get bored. So I'll put it in Not My Cup of Tea, but if I had to rate it, it'd be B minus. Moving on here, we have Rage Against the Machine. Rage Against the Machine by Rage Against the Machine. Now this is I've always heard Rage Against the Machine, you know, kind of legendary counterculture type of band, but this album was not very good. The strongest part about Rage Against the Machine is the instruments. You know, they have very impressive musicians on it, but like the vocals, I mean, they're like, yeah, man, you know, they're like really in your face and all that stuff, especially in songs like Killing in the Name and all that stuff. But it's just, you get the point after like song 4, and then the rest of it is just like, okay, yeah, woo, stick it to the man. I mean, nothing to like go against Rage Against the Machine, like obviously they're quite influential, but I mean, maybe it was better at the time, but really I was just not a huge fan of it. I'd say I'd actively dislike it. I would not listen to it again. I mean, I wouldn't listen to any of these albums again, but especially this one. It's just like, it's only got like 3 good songs, and the rest of them are just the same thing, just being said over and over again. And the only good thing about this album is the instruments, and that's about it. Moving on here to Saint Elsewhere by Gnarls Barkley. This is no, it's not long. It just has a good amount of songs on it. So this is interesting because most people have only ever heard like Crazy off this album. And maybe crazy, you know, something like that. But like, you're not missing much from the rest of it. It's got some good stuff like Who Cares, I think is good. Just a Thought. But all these other ones are just like, either they're just like mid, or they're like actively kind of like grading, and it's just only listen to like the good songs off this album. Don't listen to the actual album. It's just kind of not great. Let's see here. There it is. Probably put that there above these ones, because at least this one's like interesting enough. You know, Gnarls Barkley is an interesting combination, kind of that soul funk type of vibe. Definitely way more original, at least, than like just basic ass late 90s, early 2000s R&B, or just straight up a cover album. So I mean, that's how I'd put that. How's it compared to BABYMETAL? I'd still say the BABYMETAL is better. Also because like, now don't quote me on this, but like I think there's like, I remember like looking at the lyrics while I was listening to this album and thinking some of the lyrics were a bit suspicious, but that could just be me misremembering. But I'll just keep it there for now because that feels like a safe spot. moving on here, we have Volume 3, The Subliminal Verses by Slipknot. So I'm a huge Slipknot fan. I haven't listened to a lot of their stuff. I included this stuff here. So I'm not counting like the live stuff at the end of like some of these albums, because some of them are like deluxes and all that, and I just don't count that. So I just count like up until like the deluxe part of the album kind of starts. But like this album is pretty good. I enjoy it. Slipknot is very good new metal. Vermilion Part 2 is really good. Nameless is pretty good. Obviously Vermilion. There's not like any like hits off this album, but I think it's like one of their more popular ones. Well, sorry, Duality. Yeah, my bad. It's their most popular, but I'm gonna be honest. I don't remember much of it. Like, I don't remember it like hitting me super hard, this album. Like it's a good consistent album, like from what I remember, but I don't remember it being like, yeah, man, this is like it. Which may sound blasphemous to some Slipknot fans, but it just wasn't really like as crazy as I was expecting, I guess. Or maybe like as hard. It's definitely not bad though. Like I'd probably put it in like A. I'd probably listen to it over Century's Child. I'd probably listen to Awaken My Love over it though. Yeah, that's probably where I'd put it. I know it just sounds like I just shat on it, but it's still a really good album. I just wasn't blown away by it like some people were, or like some people hyped it up to be. Moving on to Marvin's Marvelous Mechanical Museum by Tally Hall. I'm going to break it to you. I don't think I'm a Tally Hall guy. Just instantly already going to move them straight into not my cup of tea. They've got some good songs. I listened to Hawaii Part 2 last year. Again, wasn't super blown away by it. I like a handful of songs off of it. This one's the same thing. I only have like 4 songs off of it I like. Those being like Taken for a Ride, The Bidding, Just Apathy, and Ruler of Everything. That's literally all I have off of it. And everything else I just did not vibe with. So I'm just assuming that Tally Hall's not my cup of tea. Doesn't mean they're bad. I just can't like accurately tell you how good they are, because I just don't think I can accurately say that without being biased. And that was a quick one. But moving on here, we have Astro Lobo by Starwolf. Starwolf's pretty new. They're not super well known. They got like 6,000, but they're like it's just like lo-fi. It's like kind of 70s. It's not 70s. It's modern, but it's like 70s. It's pretty chill. This is also an EP, so I guess that makes it easier because it can be more consistent. But yeah, it's a really good listen. It didn't like move me or anything, but if you're just looking for like 70s kind of chill stuff to listen to, definitely check it out. Its shortness really helps it though. So like, yeah, I'll keep it there, because I don't know if it's fair to really rank it above other albums in this tier, just because we don't know if it was the same length as an album. But just as a package itself, it's really good. It's really consistent. Moving on, we have Around the Fur by Deftones. So when this is another one that I re-listened to. I was not a huge fan when I first listened to it. I thought it was just kind of mid. I thought it didn't really stand out, in my opinion. But when I re-listened to it, I realized how wrong I was. It's got a lot of good songs. I mean, My Own Summer. What else is a good one? I like Die the Flu, personally, or Head Up. Head Up's really good, even though it's 6 minutes. And it's also like, I don't know why it has a 30-minute long, or almost 40-minute long outro, but like, you can just skip that. I mean, it's really stupid it's on there, in my opinion. And I don't really know what it's supposed to like represent. I haven't looked into like the meaning of this album, but it's a pretty consistent album. I would listen to it again, especially since it's short. You know, it says it's like an hour and 14 minutes, but it's actually like 30-ish minutes because you just don't listen to MX, because why would you? So it's pretty good. I'd probably listen to it over Century Child, because Century Child has some long songs on it too, like the Beast and the Harlot or whatever. That's like 10 minutes. I'd probably same thing here. Probably listen to it on the same level as the Subliminal Verses. Yeah. Moving on. We have Twin Fantasy by Car Seat Headrest. So I fell in love with Car Seat Headrest last year when I listened to This Is Welcome to America or something, or How to Leave Town. That's what it is. When I listened to How to Leave Town, my favorite album by them, I love that album. So I tried to listen to more of their stuff. I listened to another Car Seat Headrest this year. I believe I listened to, like, what was it? Teens of Denial. That'll be coming up. But I listened to Twin Fantasy. I did re-listen to this album, and I just was like, it's fine. It's nothing too crazy. There's some songs on here that are really good, like Beach Life and Death, Bodies, Twin Fantasy, Those Boys. But like the other songs, like Famous Prophets, way too long, not very good. I'm not gonna count this as a 1 minute song. It's got some highs, but the lows are just like pretty low in my opinion. I just think they're like, it's kind of a drag to listen to, honestly. Like by the time you get to the midpoint, you're just like, are we almost done yet? So like I'd put that down here. I'll put it above these because it's like not as repetitive. Like it changes as you listen to it, but it's just, I probably would not re-listen to it again, because it's such a lengthy listening to process. But yeah, so I think okay. So continuing on here, we have Outta My Mind by Lando. So Lando isn't very well known. They're kind of a, like, well, I guess they're pretty well known. Lando it's like internet music. I don't know how to say it. It's just kind of, it's lo-fi. Yeah, that's true. It's chill. This one he uses a lot of auto-tune on. Like almost, I think every song probably has like auto-tune on it, which can be, and he uses it like to really mess with his voice a lot. And you might be like, and if you're not a fan of auto-tune, you probably won't like it. But like other than that, it's super chill. I mean, you listen to this album, you don't listen to it, you listen in the background. Although I guess never mind, you can listen to this album and it'll be a good time. And it's super chill and it's a really good experience. I'd probably put it maybe at the top of B. I feel like this tier's a bit here. What we'll do is we'll make a B+, and we'll move these three into it. That feels about right, because these are just, they're fine. They're not crazy. These are just better. It's like I'd rather listen to these over these, and especially these are like, there's a distinct feeling looking at these. So that feels about right. Top of B+ tier, because it's not as good as A. It's really consistent and it's super listenable through, but again, a lot of these songs kind of run together. And the main use I do for this album is I listen in the background. Like it's not super in your face and all that stuff, which it isn't trying to be, but it's there. That's kind of my thoughts on that. Okay, so Progenies 2020. So I'm going to take a quick break here, and then I'll be back to continue. Okay, so I'm back for just a little bit here to add on to continue this tier list a bit. Whoops, sorry about that. My mouse got a bit stuck. I will mute real quick. Okay, there we go. So, continuing on here, we have Progenies 2012 to 2016 compilation by Mammoth. So Mammoth is I don't know their history, but they're a little tiny band that was made by, I believe, some... so Thrailkill is this prog band that I really like, and they were formerly Mammoth. They're a prog metal outfit. They got some good songs. They weren't as good as Mammoth. Thrailkill is really good. Highly recommend you check them out. And this is also just like a compilation album, so it's not really meant to be like listened through all the way. But you can, but it's not really anything crazy. It's fine. I probably would recommend like listening to like a Thrailkill album or something over than just Mammoth, because you're not really gonna get anything out of Mammoth that you wouldn't get better out of Thrailkill, or even just that's kind of my thoughts on it. So I'd probably put it under. I'd probably put it next to Drukqs. That's kind of my thoughts on it, where it's like, I mean, you listen to it if you're really looking for some prog, and it's not like insane prog either. It's fine. Moving on here to the Lunar Injection Kool-Aid Eclipse Conspiracy. A little bit of a mouthful there by Rob Zombie. This is his most recent album, I believe, or at least it came out really recently, 2021. I don't know if he has one recently. This album's a lot more different than I thought it would be. Now, maybe I'm kind of an older Rob Zombie fan. Like, I like some of his older songs. At least that's the ones I've most listened to. So maybe he like had a style kind of change in like a certain point and just kind of changed. But this album is just like, it's kind of mid. I'm gonna be real with you, and I know I just used mid in a negative connotation when I mentioned earlier I wouldn't, but it's mid. It's got nothing crazy going on here. Really, the best song in my opinion is "Triumph of a King Freak," which I have the single liked, so I didn't like this one. And like "Sleazy Rider," "Howling Man." Those are about the only ones that are like real good songs off this one. Everything else just really runs together, and I don't remember like anything about it, and it's like pretty mid. Where is it? There we go. Yeah, I like it more than Rage Against the Machine. Actually, now that I think about it, I'm gonna put this down here too, because this is just a cover album. It's not very good. Some of the songs sound interesting with his baritone voice, but that's about it. I'd listen to this over this if I had to. Yeah. Moving on, we have Bleed American by Jimmy Eat World, Deluxe Edition. Now, I did not listen to... This is like a 2-hour long album. I listened to like the first half, because a lot of these are just like extra bonus stuff. I listened to the first disc. So going directly purely off the first disc, it's not very... It's fine. But however, you're only going to listen to this for like the middle. That's really all you're going to listen to. Everything else is just gonna run right on by, and you're gonna skip it because why would you listen to it? I'm sorry to any Jimmy Eat World fans out there, or not Eat World. Jimmy Eat World. It's not very good. It's definitely better than these albums. To an extent, it's better than Untitled, but not better than Saint Elsewhere. Because it's not... You're going to listen to like some of the songs, but you're just going to skip most of the way through this album. You're going to listen to the middle. You're going to skip to the middle, which is like the third song in the album. And then you're going to like try and listen to stuff afterwards, and you're just going to skip. And it's just... that actually... Yeah, they're kind of the same, where you'll skip till you hear a good song, and then, yeah. And there's not a whole lot of good songs on it. So moving on, we have Ice Death Planet Lungs Mushroom and Lava by King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. I hate this album. I do not like it. Now, that's mostly because like all the songs are incredibly long, and they're just the same thing for those entire times, and so in comparison to like Drukqs or like Too Low for Zero, those are like repetitive, but they're not like, I don't know, it's a different type of repetitiveness as compared to this. Like, this is just the same exact like riff for like 8 minutes or 10 minutes, and there's like barely any changing or of like the way they go about it. It's so bad. I would never want to listen to this album again, because it's just going to be a waste of my time. It's got some cool sounds, like a lot of the songs sound like a like 70s Miami cop show like intro or something like that, but that runs dry pretty quickly once you start to get more and more into the album, and you're just, at a certain point, you're just like, can this end, please? And that's at like the second song. Not a great album. I would not recommend it. However, I don't even think it's a good background album either, because it's like, it's kind of in your face to an extent. So just overall avoid it. In my opinion, there are way better albums from King Gizzard. Moving on to Madman Across the Water by Elton John. This one's 70s? Yeah, 70s. It's good. It's got Tiny Dancer. It's got Madman Across the Water. It's got Rotten Peaches. It's got all your good stuff on it. And it's just, even the songs like that are like kind of that I don't have liked, like Razorface or like Holiday Inn, I still think they're fine. I just didn't like them enough to want to listen to them again. But as for listening through the album, they're fine. And even if you do skip them, you got like bangers on it, like coming along. It's a really good album, really consistent. Way better than Too Low for Zero, because at least it like changes and it's not repetitive. B+ feels right. I would rank it higher than these ones. Now within this tier, definitely better than that. Subjectively, I'd probably listen to American Idiot over Madman Across the Water, but objectively, it's probably higher. Yeah, that's kind of where I'd put that one. So next we have La Roux by La Roux. I don't know if that's how you actually pronounce it. This is, it's like electronic pop. It's got the big highlight is Bulletproof, you know. But like Colorless Color is so good. It's got some underrated songs on here. Colorless Color is really good. Cover My Eyes, love that song. All these other ones are, Growing Pains is really good. They're kind of simple. They kind of follow the standard like verse, chorus, verse. But I mean, like, is good. Her voice, La Roux's voice is very nice to listen to. It's got nice like electronic stuff backing her voice, and the choruses are fun to sing. Like, it's just a solid album. It's nothing to write home about, but it's also it's not like bad. It's fun. I'll put it like here, probably at the top of B tier. Yeah, just a simple album. Moving on to Hollywood's Bleeding by Post Malone. I think this was my first Post Malone album. I think. I have probably a pretty unpopular opinion. I think this album isn't all that. I don't think Post Malone works very well with, I mean, this is fine, but like, I just don't think Post Malone works very well with like all these features and all that stuff. Sunflower is way overplayed, so that's why I didn't like that one, but it's a good song. Like, the DaBaby song, I only liked it because it's a good background song. I just am not a huge fan of this album. I think it's just pretty mid overall. It's got like a few good songs on it, but most of it is drowned out by this just torrent of sludge that's within it. So I'd put it probably in like C. I don't think it's as bad as these ones in terms of subjectivity. Like, I'd probably maybe listen to it again, but I'm not gonna have a good time. It's better than Jimmy Eat World, Bleed American. Better than Saint Else. Well, they're kind of the same here. In my opinion. Moving on, we have Svefns och Vöku Skil by Arsti. Dior. I don't know how to pronounce it because it's Icelandic. This band is really good with they have very good like melodies. Like they love putting their voices. It's like a 3-guy band, I believe. And they each have like a different like kind of voice. So they stack the voices and it's harmonizing. That's what it is. They have really good harmonies, and that's kind of like why you listen to them, because it's a really chill kind of like it's just like a guitar a lot of the time, and it's just like real chill. I mean, a lot of it is in Icelandic, of course, but they've got some good song, and it's a background song. I mean, I could not pay attention to this album. Like I'd get bored probably around like here. And even though these songs are good, I'd still be like, okay, it's just gonna be the same thing. So like, you'd probably want to listen to it when you're like reading a book or something like that. You know, something that's not actively focusing on the album, because you're gonna get pretty bored quickly. I'm gonna be honest with you. So we move here, and yeah, it's gonna be probably down here. You want to? It's definitely better than that because it's just super chill. I mean, it's kind of hard to rank them in terms of just how different they are and how different they work for whenever you would listen to them. But this one probably would work more, like in more situations. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about that. Moving on, we have Bleach by Nirvana. So, this album is. I mean, it's Nirvana. You know what you're getting into it. You're getting grunge. Wait, do I not have... Oh, wow. Okay. But yeah. It's Bleach. It's Nirvana. Sorry, it's Nirvana. This is like their first album, I think. I thought a lot of these just kind of ran together in my mind. Like a lot of them just kind of sounded the same. But I mean, sometimes they were like interesting enough to catch my attention. But like Love Buzz, the Scoff here, just all of it was like, okay, same thing. Which might be a little bit harsh, but I don't have like I don't have like the nostalgia for Nirvana, and I also am not like a major grunge guy. Like I like grunge. I'll listen to it, but I'm not like super deep into the genre as other people are. So for Bleach, where is it? I'd probably put it at like B-. No, that's a bit too harsh. That's a bit too harsh for it. But objectively, it's probably like B tier. But in my opinion, I just probably wouldn't listen to it again, except for like the handful of songs on it I did like. I'd listen to it. Ooh, I know someone's gonna be mad at this. I would listen to it over all of those, but under BABYMETAL. And just because like a lot of it runs together in my mind and doesn't really like distinguish itself enough to really kind of make it sonically interesting listening through it. Moving on to Escape by Journey. This one is it's got hits on it like Don't Stop Believin', which was overplayed, so that's why I didn't like it. But I don't remember hitting as hard as Frontiers. Like, it's got good songs. It's got the journey that you're looking for, but I personally would just rather listen to Frontiers over it. And I don't think it's anything to really write home about, in my opinion. Where is it? Where is it? There it is. I'd probably put it here. I mean, I'd listen to it over all of these albums, but I wouldn't listen to it over these albums. Over that one, definitely. Okay, it's up here. I'd listen to it over all of these. Probably that. That's my ranking for that one. Yeah. It's just more Journey, and I don't think it's like is like good enough. in order to like really be up there with like its other contemporary albums. Moving on, we have A Night at the Opera by Queen. Now, this might be an unpopular opinion. I don't like this album. It's really experimental, and I just don't think it's... Well, okay, maybe it's just not my cup of tea. Like, I just don't think, like, some of these songs are good, but I'm just not, like... And obviously it has Bohemian Rhapsody, which I do like. I just like a different version of it on Spotify, so I didn't like this to have two of them. Like, it's got that on it. It's got... I believe 39. I don't remember which one's the other hit on this off this album, but I just don't think it's my cup of tea. I don't think I can fairly like rate it, I guess I can say, because it's really different, and I just could tell that I wasn't a fan of it pretty much by like the first or second, third song. So I just don't think I can fairly rate it. Now, Omnium Gatherum by King Gizzard and Lizard Wizard is so good. It's such a good album. It's not like God tier. It's not S tier, but it is so good. It's super consistent. It's some of the best from the band. It's got like, it's super distinct. Like, a lot of it is distinct. So like, for example, you have Magenta Mountain, super chill, laid back song, and then there's another song, then there's Gaia, which is like way in your face and all over the place, and it's just, I love the variety on this album. And while it's a bit of a background album, it showcases some of my favorite parts of King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, and kind of what they can do with their music. I'd probably listen to Frontiers, probably listen to it over Frontiers. No, it's a bit too long for that, in my opinion. Yeah. Moving on to the next album on my list here that I listened to. Let me pull that up. There you go. So that album was Siamese Dream by the Smashing Pumpkins. This is another deluxe one where it's like I cut out some of the stuff like back here. Oh wait, no, this is one I actually added on, because this one is another deluxe one where it's like I got a bunch of that stuff. But I re-listened to this album not too long ago. I think this actually might have been one of the last albums I re-listened to before I made this. Pretty good. I wasn't a huge fan at first, but then, you got songs like Luna. I love Luna. Mane Soma, stuff like that. It's just kind of a banger after banger here. Like, you just see that, it's just, a really nice run. And even, like, these songs here, I'm not a huge fan of, but they're, like, this one's short, and these two aren't awful. It's not like it's hard to listen to them. Like, I can easily sit through them if I was going to listen to this album again. Like, this is just a great, solid album. If I had to rank it, there it is. It's definitely probably in B+. I definitely would re-listen to it. Probably here, maybe. It's just, it has such a strong, like, through line with only, like, a couple misses, in my opinion. However, I'd probably, yeah, that's probably how I feel about that placement. I'd probably listen to Around the Fur over it. Yeah. Moving on here, we have the Cowboy Bebop soundtrack. I believe this is the soundtrack. Maybe it's not. Maybe this is just like a handful of songs from it. But this was fun. This was fun to listen to. I love the jazzy, like, tank here is really good. What else is really good? Bad Dog No Biscuits. I love this one. Yeah. Highly recommend listening to it if you haven't, because it's this is just a really solid soundtrack. It's got, like, obviously some of these are just like slow songs, or songs that obviously need like a scene with it, but a lot of these just are banging even without like the context of whatever scene they play in. I've never even seen Cowboy Bebop, and I'm still like headbanging, or not headbanging, but like vibing to a lot of these. Like, it's just really good jazzy type stuff. ranking it, it's kind of hard to rank a OST compared to normal albums, but it's up there. It's really good. It's super consistent. And even like the stuff that isn't a huge problem or like isn't like a huge hit, it's like it's either not that long or it's still just like a nice background song. So like I'd put it up here. I'd probably put it at the bottom though, because like I'd probably listen to any. Well, maybe like here. Actually, it's fine where it is. It's fine where it is. Yeah, just super solid. Highly recommended. Super good. Moving on here, we have another very subjective take. I love this album. It's so good. It has such a unique sound to it. It's Yves Tumor. It's like alternative pop. I don't know. It's so weird to say. Oh man, it has so many good songs. Greater Love, Gospel for a New Century, Kerosene. I personally don't really have a skip on this album. There's just some songs that I like am not huge fan of. Like Medicine Burn is a little bit too in your face for like its placement, or it's a little bit just too in your face overall. Has Dylan Lights is good. I just don't think it's like good enough to listen to outside of the album. But oh my, this album is so good. Highly recommend to listen to it if you haven't already. It's just a banger after banger all the way through, and it's just the atmosphere of the album is great as well. It's not like, I was gonna say oppressive, but that's not the right word I'd use. It's like, it's a different kind of thing. It's S tier. Now, which one would I rather listen to? Probably Kid A. Kid A is a bit more of a like full on experience, while this one's got like some vibe changes in it. But it's so good. It's so good. I love Heaven to a Tortured Mind. Also, great album title as well. Like, great album title. Moving on here, we have Fine Line by Harry Styles. So, this album is just kind of mid to me. Like, it's got some good songs, like She, Golden, Watermelon Sugar. Yeah, like that's good. But all these other ones, they just flow together in my mind, and they just all sound which sounds rude to say, but it's just kind of mid. I would not listen to this album again. I would only listen to the 4 songs I have liked on it. Probably under that one too, because even this one just has like a couple more songs like that I like. Yeah, probably that. Yeah. At this point, it's just like comparing songs between these 4, and it's just like, well, I like these songs a bit more than these ones, so it's like we'll move it up. However, I kind of like that 2K R&B sound a bit more than Harry Styles' sound on that album, in particular. We have Ghost Stories by Coldplay here. And this is a really good album. It's a good one. I'm not a huge fan of these last 3, but I just think like it's almost a no skip album except for this last part. Like it's really good. It's not like insane to me like the S tiers are, but like it's definitely A+. Where is it? There it is. Now, where in A+? I'd probably listen to it. It's really consistent. Like I said, even those last 3, I don't like hate them. You know, I'd listen to them, but I probably just don't like them. You know what I mean? So I'd probably place it here. Maybe there. No, that feels about right. Yeah, that's probably where I'd place that. Ghost Stories by Coldplay. Good album. Moving on, we have Californication by Red Hot Chili Peppers. Now, this album is I can't remember much about it. Like, it has some hits, like Other Side. Yeah, Other Side is good. Obviously, Californication is amazing. It's an amazing song. but it kind of just runs together in my mind thinking back on this album, and nothing really stands out aside from like Other Side and Californication. I mean the songs are good, but it's really just like, I don't know. I'm not really blown away by the album every time I think about it. Every time I think about it, I just think about, oh yeah, Californication and Other Side. I don't really think about, oh yeah, it's got like a good like through line, it's got like a good like experience. I don't think that. I just think like, oh yeah, that is an album. Where is it? Super iconic album cover. I'm not ranking them. I'm not taking the album cover into account here, but that album cover is just so nice. I love the. God, where is it? Oh, I'm definitely just there. It is. It's album cover is really nice, but yeah, B minus. I'd listen to it again, but I definitely probably would be more in the background. Yeah, that album cover is so iconic. Probably up here, though, at the top of that. Maybe I'd re-listen to it over any of these. And I don't think it's B minus tier. But up here, I'd probably listen to it above that. Probably about that. That seems about fine. Moving on, we have Bon Iver by Bon Iver. I literally can't think of a single like distinguishing factor this guy has besides like his voice. That's a bit harsh. He's just not really all that to me. He's got some good songs like Perth. I like these other songs I like. I just can't like think of how they sound because they're just not really that like crazy. Obviously, he's a really good background artist, from my experience. Like, what's this album cover? Okay, yeah. He's a really good background artist, like, from what I've heard, but he's just not really, like, it's just kind of there, and I'm not really, like, impressed or unimpressed by what I hear. Like, when I look at the Bon Iver album, I'm like, yep, that's Bon Iver, and like I know what I'm getting, but I also know it's not going to be anything too crazy. like this album, I'd much rather just have his songs appear like while I'm shuffling than actually listen to this album. But like if I mean I'd put it in the background. Moving on, we have Goodbye Yellow Brick Road by Elton John. So I actually probably should have re-listened to this album because I don't remember much about it. But it's got some really good songs. Benny and the Jets. Goodbye Yellow Brick Road is so good. I love this song. So fun to sing. But even just that, it's so upbeat. It's got what else? Saturday Night's Alright for Fighting. Social Disease. This album is just so consistently good. It's fun to listen to. It's fun to just kind of, you can put it in the background, or you can just listen to it straight through, or you can just like focus on it. Like it's super good. It has good in both of those roles. It didn't blow me away, but it's definitely like A+ in my opinion. Showcasing some of that really good aspects of Elton John, or at least this era of Elton John. What is this? This album is a 70s album. Yeah. I'd probably listen to it over the Cowboy Bebop OST. Definitely over Star Wolf. Again, this is just like a vibe check. Like, what's my vibe at the moment? But I'd probably keep Eureka above it. Yeah. That feels about right. Moving on, we have Birthplace by Novo Amor. So, this is kind of a similar thing to Bon Iver, where Novo Amor and Bon Iver are literally, like, the same person in my head. Obviously, they have different, like, voices and stuff like that, but they're just so similar when I think about them. Like, they just go hand in hand. And this album, at least, is better than Bon Iver's self-titled, because it's just, like... I don't know. It's a little more consistent. The vibes hit a bit harder, which is not a great criticism, but that's the best way I can kind of explain it. It's kind of what I look for more, and kind of that like I guess folk. I guess folk is the closest thing I could say to that. So it's like B. Probably bottom of B. I don't know if I'd listen to it over any of these other ones though. Maybe Free. Man, I talked this album a lot up, but now it's like bottom of B tier, and that feels right. Yeah. So moving on here, we have I Shall Exterminate Everything Around Me That Restricts Me From Being the Master by Electric Six. Good lord, this is not anything I like. This is definitely not my cup of tea. I did not like anything about the album except like one song, and even then that song kind of backs in and out of my preferences all the time, and I just don't think it's my cup of music. So I'm putting it down here because I don't think I could fairly rank it amongst any of these. Moving on to the Protomen. So this is a weird one, and it might go in its own tier all on its own, because what it is it's basically a telling of, I believe, like Mega Man 1's storyline, or maybe Mega Man 2 storyline, just told in like a rock opera. Not really like a rock opera, but kind of a similar like concept to a rock opera. It told in this form. It's really cool, really interesting, and actually pretty good, but it's kind of unrankable just based on how the concept of it. Like, you have to listen to the whole album through, or else you're just kind of like not like get the full experience. So you can't like listen to any of the songs by themselves, in my opinion. And like, it's not like, it's also just like, I mean, the music's good. Like, it's good. It's a good album. Like, if I had to actually rank it, I'd probably put it like A+. But it's just, it doesn't feel right ranking it amongst these. So I just keep it down here, unrankable. My thoughts on it, though, is it's a really good album. The storyline is good, even though I've never played Mega Man 1 or like went through its storyline. So like, I didn't even know the storyline, and I thought it was good. I just don't know if it's fair to really rank it amongst any of these. I also haven't re-listened to it since I last listened to it, which was a while ago. I added it April 29th, so around April or May is when I would have listened to it. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the Protomen. Moving on to West of Eden by HMLTD. This album I don't remember much about. It's got some good songs on it that I like. It's got, I'm not going to say it's similar to Electric Six. It's not at all. But it kind of has a similar kind of maybe singing voice. Yeah, I don't know how to describe the singing. It's kind of like, I don't know. You just have to like listen to it and you'd get what I mean. There's another band album another album from a band I listened to later on that we'll get to that has similar singing to this as well. And I'm not a huge fan of that singing. It doesn't sound very good in my opinion, and it kind of sounds awkward and weird. But this album is like a lot of that. And it also kind of just doesn't differentiate itself from song to song. But the songs I do like are pretty good. Like Nobody Stays in Love is really good, and I also really like Satan, Luella, and I. That's a really good song. If I had to, I'd probably just recommend songs off the album though, rather than the album itself. So I'd probably put it at like C. Bottom of C. I would not listen to it over any of these other ones, except maybe Jimmy Eat World. Yeah. So now we have ABBA. I don't know. This is awful. I don't like it. It's just Brian David Gilbert covering these songs with like a Halloween twist. And maybe I'm being too harsh on it because it probably wasn't made super seriously. But I was not a fan at all. And I like the songs he covered, and I like Brian David Gilbert. This just was not funny. Wasn't very funny. It wasn't very good. It just but because it's short, I would listen to it over this. Yeah, if you had to make me, I would listen to it over that. King Gizzard. Oh, it's such a long name. Ice something death. Yeah, very quick one. Just not very good. Telepathic Humans by Lucy. This one, I don't have a lot of likes on it, but it's the two songs I do like are pretty nice. I'm trying to remember what type of like vibe it is. It's kind of shoegazy. This is another EP, which helps it because it's short. I might need to re-listen to this because I might like more songs on this than it shows here. No, this is super consistent. All these songs kind of flow together really nicely. Again, it's short, so that's good. The titular track and Dreamer are both highlights, obviously. It's such a vibe. It's a great EP to just kind of throw on in the background when you're like doing something real quick, and just kind of need some music. But it's also good to just focus on too, because it's really chill. So I'd probably put it here, because I'd probably listen to Roux over it, but I would not listen to Rick Astley. Oh, is that Souls and Mind? I think Mind and Body or something over Lucy, over Telepathic Humans by Lucy. It's a good one. Then we have In Case I Make It by Will Wood. So, little history lesson here. I loved the Normal album by Will Wood. My favorite album, probably of last year, or one of. It's so good. This album is not as good as the Normal album, but it's still really good. Just because it's not S tier doesn't mean it's not A+. It's so good, and I would definitely listen to it over all of these. It's so close to breaching S tier. I compare it too much to the Normal album, and that's where it falls flat, because I'm so in love with the Normal album. It's such a good album. I realized I just spent more time praising the Normal album than actually talking about it. So, like, obviously it has some of Will's, like, usual song chops, where it's, like, a really, really great production value, really catchy, like, choruses, great lyricism that's kind of entertaining and has the thing to be funny, unlike some other people who try and write songs to be funny. Also kind of really good, like, subject matter a lot of the time, or, like, you can take, for example, like, Tomcat Disposables and use that song, interpret it in many different ways without even knowing what the song's about. So, like, and it's just kind of, it's consistent, it's great. Obviously, it's not like a full listen through album like the Normal album is for me. Like, there's some skips, like You Liked This, OK Computer, which is obviously the fun reference to OK Computer, but also just, like, I don't know, it's kind of an interlude. I won't count that, but, like, Half Decade Hangover, I'm not a huge fan of. Sex, Drugs, Rock and Roll, I'm not a huge fan of. I skip those usually, and Willard as well. But as you saw from my likes, I mean, most of the album is pretty good. But I just don't think it really cracks into my S tier personally. Moving on, we have I don't know if 2112 or 2112 or 2112 by Rush. I was not a huge fan of this, and I think it might just be that they're not my cup of music, because, like, I've only heard Tom Sawyer by Rush. Obviously that's, like, their biggest song, and, like, I know people like Rush. I didn't listen to the live, so I just listened to these 6 songs. I was not a huge fan of the 20-minute intro song, I don't really like super long songs. Like, I think the longest song I have is like 12 minutes, and that's mainly because I don't see a time of when I would actually listen to this. Because if it's like 20 minutes is like across town when I drive, and that's like the farthest I'd ever go. So I'd barely even be able to get to listen to this full song in a single car ride, let alone just like normally. Because and it just wasn't very like crazy when I did listen to it. I mean, it was fine. Passage to Bangkok I wasn't a huge fan of. Lessons was good. I haven't heard in a while, but I enjoyed it. Something for Nothing, yeah. But these other three were just kind of like fine. They didn't really blow me away enough to want to like hear more of them. It feels like I'm being a bit like rough on it, but I don't hate it. I don't hate the album. I probably just wouldn't listen to it again. I definitely listened. It is short, quote unquote. I mean, it's not short. It's about the same length, but it's, I don't know. I can just skip the first song and it's really short, so that helps it. Probably under Bleach. I'd much rather listen to Bleach over it. It's probably about neck and neck with Hollywood's Bleeding. Maybe... I'll keep that. That looks about right. Moving on to Not All Heroes Wear Capes Deluxe by Metro Boomin. This was pretty good. This was a fun listen to. It was a fun listen to, but not a whole lot like takeaways. Like, obviously, listen through it, you know, like you listen through this and it's like you're playing it in the background while you're doing something, and it's just, or you're like driving and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, this is good. But there's only like some of these where it's like Space Cadet, where I'd like listen to outside of this album. So I mean, like it's pretty good, but it's one of those where it's like there's only like a few takeaways from it. So like, definitely over the Bon Iver. Definitely over Progenies. Over Drukqs for sure. It's probably about there, I'd say, in my opinion. Too Low for Zero and Drukqs. Because it kind of runs together, which is which kind of sucks a bit. Every Kingdom by Ben Howard. I literally don't remember anything from this album. It's pretty forgettable. Diamonds is fine, but everything else is just kind of, the whole album sounds the same. And I mean, you can take that how you want, but where is it? It didn't change enough for me to really be interested in it at all, and I would put it down here. I'd re-listen to it over those, over Fine Line, over Untitled, but I wouldn't listen to it over Staying Elsewhere, because it's just guitar, which is fine. Guitars are cool and all that, but it's just, it doesn't, you know what I mean? Like, sounds fine, but it's too much of one thing, and yeah, so that's why it goes there. Then we have In Between Dreams, which, as you can tell from the ratio here, I only liked one song, which it's Jack Johnson. He's pretty iconic, but I maybe it's just not my cup of tea. I thought I would like that type of music, but it's just, I don't want to be too harsh on it, because like, I can tell some of these songs, you know, effort put into them and all that stuff, and like, I know people like this music, so I think it's just a case of not my cup of tea. And maybe the same thing with Ben Howard, but yeah, I'll put them both in there. I just don't know if this is my type of music, to be honest. Okay. Boom. Moving on, we have Zoo by Denzel Curry. I don't remember much from this album, but I don't remember it being that great. I think I just wasn't a huge fan of some of the like verses on this. I'm a huge Denzel fan, and I like a lot of I like his flow, I like his lyricism, but I think he just wasn't really at his top of his game in this album, and he really just wasn't like doing anything too crazy. But I mean, I'm also a bit subjective in terms of like when it comes to rap, because like I can acknowledge when someone like has great lyricism and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, if I'm just not vibing with their music, that's just kind of how it is. Like maybe I'm just not a huge fan of Rick Ross's flow, which I think is the case. I think he also had like some weird like maybe this is maybe I'm thinking of his other album, which is Unlocked, where he kind of has like a weird like voice effect thing going on, which like repeats some of his words or like provides some extra commentary. It like samples within the song, and I'm just not a huge fan of that. It just sounds goofy. Yeah, I think this is one of his weaker albums, and not really. I mean, check it out if you're a big Denzel fan, but you're probably not going to get out of it. And it's not a great introduction to him as a rapper either, or as an artist. I'd probably listen to it over all this stuff, though. Yeah. Actually, I could listen to it over BABYMETAL. Yeah. Yeah, definitely over that. Over Progenies. Not over Drukqs. I would much rather listen to Drukqs. Actually, Drukqs is really long. That's one thing that Drukqs holds back. I'd listen to No More Hero. Not All Heroes Wear Capes over it though. 100%. That's where it's getting the cutoff. Moving on, we have Mini Mix Volume 3 by Magdalena Bay. This is another, I think it's long enough to be an album. No, it's an EP. But this one's pretty good. It's good. It's consistent. It's got like 2 mid songs at the beginning and kind of just a rehash of the first song at the end, which is shorter. So even if you didn't like that song, it's short here. And then these 4 are really good. It's just a good, consistent EP. Fun to throw on if you're not in for a time investment. Definitely. I don't know if that's their best work. Mercurial, is it Mercurial World? Is that the album, or is that just a song name? But one of their albums is a much better introduction to them as an artist. Definitely because of its shortness would listen to it over a lot of this. Not Cracker Island. I love Cracker Island too much. Perfect. Moving on, we have The Great Show, The Great Tour Live in Prague 2020 by Sabaton. This is a concert album, which you might think, well, that's not a great way to see an artist, and I think you're kind of right, because this album was really long, and it kind of ran together in my mind, and it has some good songs on it, but I would never re-listen to this in a million years. I would literally just listen to the songs, and that's what I do. I would much rather listen to it over that, but not over that. The reason I listened to a concert album instead of an actual album of theirs is because the person who recommended them didn't provide me an album and provided me a concert album, which is fine. It gave me a good taste of Sabaton's music, but as an album, it's just a concert album. So honestly, it's kind of unrankable in that aspect, because it's not really meant to be an album. It's meant to be like, just here's the concert. So I'm going to put it unrankable. That feels a lot more fair to it than putting it in D tier. I'm going to do a quick run through, make sure everything's looking good. Yeah, looks good. So we're going to put it unrankable for that reason. Moving on here, we have, so this is where, so you see a bunch of songs here and you're like, whoa, what's that? This is going to be the J-pop. It's not really J-pop, but I couldn't think of a better way to kind of say it. So basically it was just like, someone recommended me a bunch of, a playlist they listen to like kind of anime openings or just kind of like idol type music. And so I listened to it, and my general opinion is it's okay. It's fine. I'm not blown away by it. I would probably listen to all of this above the like playlist that she sent me. But I don't hate, it wasn't, it's kind of I don't want to put it in unrankable though, because that feels kind of unfair. Well, that just feels kind of like I like the music it gave me as a genre. I'm a fan. I'm a fan. They got some nice hooks. They got really upbeat music, which I'm kind of a fan of sometimes. Yeah, I'll put it in B plus. It's good. It's good. It's not like my favorite genre. Moving on, we have Deltron 3030 by Deltron 3030, which is kind of a... I don't know much about Deltron 3030, but given that the features are all on here, I assume it's just a little group made by these three. This is like legendary from what I hear. Like Deltron 3030 is like a legendary album, you know, stuff like that. I didn't like how repetitive it was. Like, it's just, there's so many like different like variations of songs and all that, and like Positive Contact and remixes, and most of them just kind of went in one year and out the other. I'm not gonna say they were bad though. Like, they were fine. It was kind of fun. I wouldn't re-listen to the album per se, but I'd re-listen to it over Bleach. It just doesn't blow me away, and I just think that the songs that I do like off of it are really good. It's just most of the album is just kind of like, I'm not gonna say ribbity rap because that's rude. That's not exactly what I'm thinking. But sometimes it feels like Dell kind of just does too much or tries to fit too much. The beats are really good for most of the album. The beats are pretty good. It just feels like Dell's lyricism really isn't up to par for a lot of the beats he's put onto, or at least I think he's not, except for some of the other ones. Except for the songs I like, and usually the songs I do like are a little carried by the beats on them, like Positive Contact with the... No, that one has a remix, but like Time Keeps on Slippin', Mastermind is really good, and Madness. Those are about the only songs I like off of it. I would definitely re-listen to it though, because even the songs I don't like are I re-listen to it over like these songs, because like even the songs I don't like I think are still like different enough and fun enough to listen to, although probably over this one, but not over this one. This one's a little bit more consistent than this. Okay, moving on, we have Flawless Like Me by Lucky. It's mid. He's fine. I don't know, his flow's kind of quiet. He kind of mumbles a bit, but he's not like... It's just safe, I guess I could say, or just kind of unoriginal, uninspired. I would listen to this over this. So, yeah, Lucky just, I mean, you'll see a lot of Lucky on here. That's just because someone was like really adamant about recommending me Lucky. But he wasn't anything crazy. He was just really safe and nothing. And he wasn't terrible, but he wasn't like great either. So we have Exotica Deluxe by Purple Disco Machine, which is a little bit of just a kind of a disco album. It's more like a DJ album, to be honest. But it's pretty good. It's got a lot of bangers on it. I'd put it in B plus probably. There's a lot of good songs on it. It's probably about here with Lando's album. I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head. It was just up there, but yeah, it's pretty good. Definitely listen to it if you're looking for a nice like disco soundtrack. I don't know, it's not all disco. It's more EDM than disco, but it's fun. It's really good. Moving on, we have Fale Adu by Fall Out Boy. I love this album. I really not fell in love with Fall Out Boy. I've always liked Fall Out Boy, but I decided to give this album a try because I liked kind of new age Fall Out Boy to an extent. I mean, their album Manic or something I wasn't a huge fan of. But I also just loved Infinity on High, and Fall You Do I had heard from someone else who liked Fall Out Boy was their favorite, and I knew it was still kind of in that pop punky type of phase, so I listened to it, and wow, this is a good ass album. This has like the intro song, Disloyal Order of Water Buffaloes, is one of the strongest intro tracks ever. It's so good, and it sets the tone very well. Because then you got She's My Winona, America's Sweethearts, Head First Slide into Cooperstown on a Bad Bet. Oh, it's just so good. The album just bangs after bangs after bangs. It's got like some songs in there that I'm like not a huge fan of, but they don't like ruin the pacing of the album. They still sound fine, and I'd still listen to them on another listen to. Just another good example of Fall Out Boy's like strengths before they turned more poppy rather than pop punky. In terms of like what I'd listen to, I'd probably listen to it over Yellow Brick Road, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. Probably not over Eureka, but not over Once. Once is really good. Finally, we have Heroes and Villains by Metro Boomin. This one I liked a bit more than Not All Heroes Wear Capes. Even though there's like maybe less, I think there's more likes on this one, and it's like I think it's longer too, which I guess kind of balances it out. But I don't know, it's kind of in the same boat as Not All Heroes Wear Capes, where it's just like I'll throw it on if I feel like it. I'd probably like it above Not All Heroes Wear Capes. Yeah, that feels safe, just kind of right next to it. Moving on, we have Without Warning by 21 Savage. This is good. It's got like some hits on it, like Ghostface Killers, Rap Saved Me. This is a good album. I don't like every song on it, of course. Like I like there's a couple skips on here. But for the most part, it's really solid, and it's a strong album, even if you're looking to like get into 21 Savage and all that stuff. In my opinion, at least. I know there's like a lot of features on it, but I still think 21 shows his stuff and shows why he's good. I'd probably listen to it over that, over Madman, over American Idiot, over that, but probably not over the Lando thing. Over the Lando album. Moving on to Seychelles by Masayoshi Takanaka. Now, there's going to be a very similar album to this one later. Now, I should have probably re-listened to this album before I actually sat down to make this. But the album just kind of runs together in my mind, and while it's got good stuff, it has some good stuff. I think it does the same thing that the other album I'm mentioning does. I just think it does the same thing as the other album I'm thinking of, but kind of just worse. And when we get to the other album, I'll bring this album back up and kind of go over it. But for right now, Seychelles is just going into B plus at the bottom, because I would re-listen to it, and I probably would like it. Then we have Gravity by Griffin. So Griffin is a DJ. So this is basically a producer album, not DJ album. It's safe music, I guess you could say, which sounds a bit rude, but you know, it's your usual like verse, chorus, verse. But it's got some really good songs. Need Your Love with Noah Kahan. Tie Me Down is really good. Remember with Zohara is a highlight. It's so good. Zohara just kind of eats both of these songs. Griffin, when he's like with just him and another artist, is usually a pretty good combo. When he gets more people in the kitchen, though, that's when it starts to be a bit too many cooks, and things kind of don't work as well. But overall, it's a fairly consistent album. All the songs don't really differentiate themselves from one another, though, which kind of hurts it a bit and makes the album kind of sound samey to a certain extent. But if I had to place it, it's probably B-, but it's probably going to be like at the top of it. Because like I said, it's kind of just all the same. No, it's got some good songs. It's got some. I would listen to it over Twin Fantasy, which might sound blasphemous to some people. It's consistent, got good songs along the way. Yeah, it's just really safe. There's not much to say about it. It doesn't lend itself that much to additional things to say about it. Moving on to Loss Prevention Reloaded by KFC Murder Chicks. This one I did not realize when I first listened to it was part of an ARG. I didn't know that, actually. I just thought it was like some weird band named KFC Murder Chicks. But no, there's like secrets in all this, and they're meant to lead back into whatever ARG this is a part of. So just for that reason, the entire album is like kind of like is like in your face and all that stuff. There's some good songs on it that are like actually songs, but they might have secrets in it. But it's kind of unrankable simply because it was made to be part of a much bigger picture being the storyline of the ARG, and trying to compare it to other albums is kind of a hard thing to do. So I'd say it's kind of unrankable in that sense, because I don't really know how I'd even go about it, because there's so many songs on it that are just kind of nothing songs, or they sound like interludes, but they're actually like probably super important to the lore or whatever. So unrankable, I'd say. Gumboot Soup by King Gizzard and Lizard Wizard. I was not a fan of this one personally. I think it was one of King Gizzard's weakest albums that I listened to. It just does a whole lot of nothing in my mind, and it's super forgettable. I don't actively hate it as much as this one, but it's definitely at the top of D tier. I would never listen to this again. Yeah. Just not much else to add on to it. I mean, like, it's got some good songs, but most of them are just like, it's just super forgetful. Like I listened to this and already forgot it. So moving on to The Record by Boy Genius. This is their first album, their debut album, I believe. I mean, it's their only album, so I guess it doesn't really count. I really like this. I'm a big Boy Genius fan. I really like their all three of the girls' vocal styles. All of them complement each other well, and they all usually have good portions on almost all the songs. Where is it? There it is. They're good. I don't know if I'd say they're A tier. Yeah, I wouldn't say they're A tier. They're probably about middle of the road here. I'd listen to it over that. That's where I'd put it. Because I think Madman Across the Water just kind of flows together much better. Because the first I don't know. It's definitely pretty good. I'd probably listen to it over American Idiot, but not Pressure. Then we have Stone's Reach by Bellacore. So this is interesting. Bellacore is like this, it's basically metal. I don't know what specific genre of metal it is, but it's metal, and it's very heavy. And I love the feeling. The only thing about it is the songs are very long, which can kind of suck a bit. Like the 8.5 minutes, 7 minutes. But I don't mind it that much, because only when songs are starting to reach past the 15-minute mark, that's when I'm starting to have an issue with it. But yeah, all these songs though also kind of sound similar. They all kind of run together in my mind. Now, I'm sure if someone was more of an active listener in terms of of this type of music, they'd be able to differentiate them more. But to my untrained ear, they all kind of just run together. However, they're bangers, so that's fine to me. So it'd probably be B+. I'd definitely listen to it over Pressure, but under Without Warning. Definitely check them out if you're looking for some more heavy vocaling, super heavy vocals, along with some metal. Then we have High Visceral Part 1 by Psychedelic Porn Crumpets. I loved this album. It was very fun, very nice vibes. I liked, even the songs that I didn't like, they're like short. There's like basically not a skip on this album. It's super good. Not S tier, but definitely an A tier. It's psychedelic, so I guess if you like psychedelic, definitely check them out. Psychedelic rock. How I listened to it over that. I'd probably listen to it over most of these, except Omnium Gatherum. It's really good, despite the weird name might imply, or like the weird name might turn people away. Then we have Hobo Rocket by Pond. This one had some cool lyricism in it, but overall I just thought it was like weird and not very interesting, audibly at least. So I'm not a huge fan of it. Like I said, it has some cool ideas and some cool like imagery, I guess you could say. Like the feelings it evokes within you are kind of interesting, but that's about all it has going for it. I'd probably re-listen to it. I do vividly remember thinking, oh, when is this going to end, while listening to this. So I'd probably put it over that. Yeah, that feels about right. Moving on, we have A Laughing Death in Meat Space. I hate this album. It just doesn't sound very good. I can't tell if it's just not my type of music. Because, like, I feel like I would like some of this music. And it has the same vocal style as like HMLDT and like Electric Six. I just hate that vocal style, and this music is already kind of like esoteric, like especially this song, and you just have that like really grating vocal style on top of it, and it's just a bad combo. It's such a bad combo for my ears. I'm gonna say not my cup of tea, simply because I can't tell if it's the vocal style or if I can't like the music. So I'm just gonna be nice to it and put it in not my cup of tea. Then we have Mothership by Dance Gavin Dance. This album, really good. It's fucking super good. It's got a lot of bangers back to back. Lyricism's all over the place, and it's really weird at times. Even if it's like intentionally meant to be weird, I still don't really enjoy that, because it's like I'm just gonna skip the song. But we got like a bunch of things going on here. Obviously, this section here is probably the strongest part of the album, so about a little bit after the intro. But I mean, Chucky versus the Giant Tortoise is good. Frozen One's good. But then you have Inspire the Liars, Philosophy King, Here Come the Winner. So good, and I think the ending's kind of strong too. Just overall a really good album. I wouldn't really say it was like amazing, but I also am definitely not gonna say it's bad, because it's super good. I'd put it in I'd put it in the top of A. That feels nice. I don't think it's A+, just because of how inconsistent it kind of is with like some of its lyricism and stuff like that, which can be weird. But I'll put it there. It is pretty good. Okay, moving on here, we have Wasteland Baby by Hosier. So I don't remember much about this album. I do like the vibes of it, though, which sounds like a very, very, fair criticism and very, very objective assessment. The vibes are pretty good on the album, though. I'd say it's probably a B. Maybe I would re-listen to this album. It's probably around Lucy, where it's under Lucy, because Lucy's shorter. Where it's like I like the vibes of it, but I probably wouldn't like focus on it that much. And you can focus on that album though, so it's not in the B- tier, which is like you kind of just throw it on in the background usually, or it's like super samey. Wasteland Baby is pretty samey, in my opinion. It's got a lot of stuff that kind of runs together in my mind. But I still think it has enough to kind of differentiate itself from the stuff down here. And I think it's better than these. So I'd put it here. Because it kind of has that similar kind of like... kind of a similar type of thing as Telepathic Humans. But Telepathic Humans is much shorter than this. So that's why it goes above it. Then we have Visions of Bodies Being Burned by Clipping. Great. I love Clipping. David Diggs is really good. He's a really good rapper. Not my type of music at all. I just am not a fan of Clipping's style. I've heard their songs sampled in just much better ways and remixed in different ways that just are much better than what I heard here. This is like a weird like horrorcore type of like experimental rap hip hop, and I'm not here for it. I'm not a huge fan. Now we have St. Louis to Liverpool by Chuck Berry. Oh, this is a good album. This is a nice like album. You know that scene in Pulp Fiction where Travolta is just like dancing his heart out with Mademoiselle, dancing to You Never Can Tell. Ah, that's a great scene. That's what this entire album feels like. It feels like you want to dance your heart out. Very fun, very good. Did I already move it? Where is it? There it is. Very good album. Probably not an A+ tier, but it's definitely here. I'd listen to Century Child under it. I'd probably listen to Siamese Dreams, though, more than St. Louis to Liverpool. Just solid, though. It also has some nice instrumental tracks, which are very good as well. Moving on, we have Deloused in the Comatorium. This is a good album, very good concept album. I just wasn't a huge fan, and I think it's just, it's fine. I know this might sound a bit blasphemous, but I still enjoyed it. I just wasn't like blown away by it as I was kind of expecting to be. So I'd put it in like A+. It's very good. I'd probably listen to it over Cowboy Bebop OST, over Astro Lobo, over Eureka. Folie à Deux is probably where it gets stopped. I'd probably listen to Folie à Deux over it. Now we have Folklore by Taylor Swift. This album kind of ran together in my mind. It's good though. It's got like some good songs. The Last Great American Dynasty is really good. This Is Me Trying is good. I don't really relate to a lot of the subject matter, of course, for obvious reasons. But I think overall it's a good album, and it kind of the vibe that you're looking for you'll get from this album, and also then some, is pretty good. I'll put it in A tier. I'd listen to it over that, but probably under St. Louis to Liverpool. Moving on, we have Harry's House by Harry Styles. This album is very good. I love it. It's so consistent. I know I don't have all these songs liked, but listening through this album is so good. It's such a consistent kind of listen through and all that stuff. It's not S tier, but it's like very top of it, like kind of around frontiers. It's just super. It made me like Harry Styles as an artist, which I guess is a good thing. It's super consistent. Bangers, dude. Intro track, Music for a Sushi Restaurant, so good. Little Freak, super good. I mean, maybe a bit overplayed, but it's super good. Matilda, Daydreaming, Cinema. Great album, genuinely. Moving on, we have Great Heights and Nosedives by Rome. This is a great pop punk album. It's British pop punk, but you don't really notice the accents if that's like a thing for you. Almost every song's a banger. No skips, basically. Just super consistent, going straight up into A+ tier. Probably above Harry's House? No. Under Frontiers. I'd probably listen to Frontiers over it, but it's super good album. Super good album. Then we have Stick Season by Noah Kahan. this album is like all over the place because there's a lot of songs on it I really love. Like I love New Perspective, Orange Juice is really good, View Between Villages. I love Stick Season, the titular track. It's so good. I've listened to it on repeat. But like every other song that I don't have liked, it's just honestly they're not bad. They're not like audibly grating or anything. So I guess listening through the album, it's not ruined at all by the unliked tracks either. Like it's just great. Let's see, where is it? Stick Season, there it is. Another A+, super good. Actually, probably more like an A. I'd listen to it over Folklore. I'd listen to it over Saint Liverpool, Siamese Dreams. It probably gets stopped there. Actually, no. I'd listen to Siamese Dreams over it. Moving on, we have Trench by 21 Pilots. This is like Stick Season, but the songs I don't like actively kind of bring the album down. That's the thing about 21 Pilots is like I think they have good songs, but like the songs I don't like in any of their albums actively brings it down. And so like I would not listen to this album again simply because I just don't like the unliked tracks, and they just actively make listening to it worse. So I'd probably put it over, yeah, this feels right there. Under Fine Line, but above West of Eden. Now we have If You're Reading This, It's Too Late by Drake. This, I actually really hated this album when I first listened to it. Then I re-listened to it, and while I still didn't really change, I added more likes to the front here. But and the back is still kind of drags on a good bit. But like it's definitely not as bad of an album as I initially thought it was. So it's definitely going up here, probably around B. I would probably listen to one second. Okay. So I definitely would listen to If You're Reading This, It's Too Late above Gravity, above Free, definitely above Novo Amore's Birthplace. Californication is where it gets stopped. I'd probably listen to Californication over If You're Reading This, It's Too Late. Although it definitely depends on the vibe and how I'm feeling, because those two can probably flip-flop. But I would listen to this. I would listen to, oh man, this album's name is so long. It's like Wherever You Are or something above If You're Reading This, It's Too Late. Moving on, we have Atlas One. This album is so long. It's like 2 hours and 7 minutes, and it's not like a deluxe or anything. All of these are unique. Some of them, most of them have like lyrics and stuff like that, but this album was such a drag to get through. In terms of like the actual songs on the album, I would never listen to this album again, but if I had to rank it as like a first listen through, its length really drags it down. I'd probably put it in B-. It's around Drukqs, just because of how long it is. Like, it's good, but it's just really long, and that's what drags it down. I'd listen to Drukqs over it, though, just personally, because breakcore is a little more interesting audibly than the music on Atlas One. Moving on, we have Shin Homerata by Muck. This is a pretty good album. I think it's also a deluxe though, so I think some of the like other half of the album is just like the same songs. But like I really, it's J-rock, kind of J-metal at times. It's good. Super consistent. No like standout tracks off the top of my head, but if you're listening to this, you're gonna have a good time. So it's like, it's kind of just depends on what your vibe is, like most of these. But I'd probably put it around like Roux. Maybe Seychelles. It's around Seychelles level, I'd say. Perfect. Moving on, we have Tachyon by Compiler Bro. So this is like, it's like EDM-y, but it's like, supposed to tell a story. And so it's like a story album, and the music on it is it's kind of good, but it's just not really applicable outside of its like niche storyline. It's kind of like the Protomen in that aspect, where like as a entire like whole, it's all right, but it's hard to rank it because it's more meant to be like a story you experience rather than just like whatever. It's kind of hard. It's fine though. I mean, if you're looking for a storyline, listen to it, but honestly, it's just kind of weird. All of these unrankable albums are kind of hard to talk about, except like Sabaton's concert album and like KFC Murder Chicks, because like those are easy to explain. But like these two, they're just like storylines, and they don't really. It's hard to compare them to like other albums. I guess more like what you like think of, when you think of an album, you think of these. So moving on, we have Wake by Hail the Sun. This is basically just Mothership by Dance Gavin Dance, but like just a bit worse and kind of a different singing style. So like it's gonna go pretty much right next to it, in my opinion. Where is it? It should be on here. Wow, did I forget to put it in here? Oh wait, there it is. There it is. So it's gonna go under Cracker Island. I'll put it above Mini Mix Volume 3 though, because I don't really. I'd much rather listen to this than that, but I'd listen to Cracker Island over Wake. Nothing much to say to it. Like I said, it's just basically Mothership, but a bit worse and different singing style. Now we have Neptune's Gate by Stranded by Choice. Stranded by Choice is a bit of a local band. It's forgetful, and that's a bit rude to say because I don't like really talking trash about local artists. But I don't know, it's just super forgetful. The songs didn't really stand out. There's a few stand out, but they're just, I don't know. You hear them live, they're probably better, but in terms of an actual album, they're not very great. I'd much rather listen to that. That's probably what I'd do. I'd listen to it over Iver though. We have I'm In Your Mind Fuzz by King Gizzard and Lizard Wizard. Now, most of this album, I'm not a huge fan of. I think it's boring. It's not really interesting. I like that it does the Nonagon thing where like most of it like flows together, but like the ending of the album is what really kind of saves it for me. Even though these are only like 4 songs out of the whole album, it's still really, it's still not great. Of course, it's kind of going. It's going above Gumboot, but it's going above Jimmy Eat World, but it's going to be in C tier. It's not very good. Above Fine Line, above Hobo Rocket, above Untitled, under Saint Elsewhere though. I'd much rather listen to Saint Elsewhere than I'm In Your Mind Fuzz. We're almost done. Tier list is coming together. Moving on, we have Side Salad by Sajcha. Sajcha is another local band, and this is just an EP. But the difference with Sajcha is their songs sound both good live and on Spotify or recorded. So like I'd put them up here. They're very good. I'd listen. I mean, it being an EP helps it a lot, but I'd probably put it like up here. It's very good. Top of A tier. Mainly because it's so short. If it was longer, it'd probably be like lower. But it's just a consistent short listen through if you're just looking for some nice psychedelic in your face music. It's really good. Moving on, we have Power Slave by Iron Maiden. This one was okay. It didn't really blow me away, and maybe it's just because I like it. I expected something different, but it's just, I wasn't really too into it. I'd re-listen to it, of course, and it's higher up on the re-listen, so probably above Rush, but under Bleach. I think this just showed me that Iron Maiden is just all right, and I don't really think Iron Maiden's as crazy as I kind of expected them to be. Which I know is kind of on me, I guess, to an extent, but this is my tier list. So, but yeah, I just kind of felt they were a bit forgettable and not really too crazy. Moving on, we have Blues for the Red Sun by Q's. I re-listened to this recently, and it's pretty good. It's really consistent, and it's a great listen through. You kind of almost forget you're listening to an album because of just how like smoothly it goes. And also kind of how like it differentiates itself as it continues on. It's I'd listen to it above Awaken My Love. I'd listen to it above Dookie. I'd listen to it above Mini Mix, Wake. It stops at Cracker Island though. I wouldn't listen to it above Cracker Island. Moving on, we have Oracular Spectacular by MGMT. This is another one where it's like, is good, but also it's not anything to write home about. It's nothing crazy. I put it in B+, and it'd probably be above Stone Reach by Bellacar. Above Without Warning, but it's not beating Lando. Just because Lando is really consistent and good to listen to in the background. And foreground to an extent, too. Then we have Time and Place by Cara Cara Bonita. This one is really unique. I like how different this album is. I may not like all of the songs on it, but I like how different it is. And it's also just a really good album in general. Definitely really engaging and fun to listen to, and also just like in your face as well. So I'd listen to it above Cowboy Bebop OST. I'd listen to it above Folly I Do and Once. Infest the Rat's Nest, yeah. Ghost Stories. It's not beaten High Visceral Part 1, though. High Visceral Part 1's really good. And then we have Disco 4 Part 1 by Health. I actually didn't know what Health was before I listened to this. I had heard of them and I had seen them a couple times, but I didn't realize they were like a producer, I guess, or like DJ type of band. I thought they actually like made original songs. I mean, these are original, but like they're more like producers and stuff like that. But this album is pretty good. It's got some good songs on it and very interesting, like, you know, JPEG Mafia, 100 Gex. Even though I'm not a huge 100 Gex fan, it's interesting. Soccer Mommy. Overall, it's a pretty good little collaboration album. And it's probably going near Griffin. I probably like it more than Griffin, just because it's a little more unique and distinct in its songs as it goes through. Just keep moving this down. We have Cave World by the Viagra Boys. Now this is I believe the last type of like music I don't like, where it has that same vocal style that I can't stand. Where is it? And like nothing to the artist, but like the lyricism's really weird, and it's not all that. Yeah, I just am not a huge fan of that type of style of music, so I just don't think it's my cup of tea. We have 3 Cheers for Disappointment by the Arrogant Sons of Bitches. This is ska punk, and I'm not a ska punk guy. I can't get into it. It's too in my face while also not being in my face, and my mind doesn't like it. My mind just can't get into the music, no matter what mood I'm in. And I've tried listening to this a couple times in different moods, and I can't. So I can't like accurately judge its quality compared to other albums. We have Out of Our Hearts by the Rolling Stones. This is very 60s. I'm not a fan. Now, I haven't listened to a lot of 60s music, so I can't really say if it's not my type of music or not. So I'm gonna put it in not my cup of tea for right. Until I can like listen to more 60s music and kind of accurately gauge how this album compares. And I know people love it. I know people love the Rolling Stones, but it's just not my type of music from what I can tell. Now we have Slow Hand by Eric Clapton. I didn't like this album at first when I listened to it, but then I re-listened to it, and I liked a lot more songs. Oh man, it's so good. It's a very good album. Super consistent. Fun to listen through. All the songs are pretty good. Good to like throw on if you're just going for like a drive. That feels right. Between Dookie and Awaken My Love. Now we have Oh What a Life by American Authors. It's pop. It's early 2010s pop. It's like literally what you imagine. I mean, it has some of those big songs too, like Best Day of My Life and stuff like that. It's just unoriginal, or at least it probably because it's a bit overplayed, it sounds unoriginal, but it's just, yeah, I've heard 50 million songs like this, or albums that sound just like all of this. Sorry, I've heard so much music that just sounds like all of it came from this album. That's just how unoriginal it sounds. I definitely wouldn't listen to it again. I'd probably put it... I mean, it's consistent. That's about what the most I can say of it. It's like Flawless Like Me, where it's like it's safe, and it's not really like crazy. Yeah. And then we have Finding It Hard to Smile by Lovely the Band. This is the same exact thing as American Authors, where it sounds the same. However, this one's a lot longer, I believe. 53 minutes. And yeah, a lot longer, which makes it more unbearable. When you hear all the songs and they just sound exactly the same. So it's going down into C tier. Under that, I'd probably listen to it above Trench, though. Not above Fine Line. Then we have Teens of Denial by Car Seat Headrest. Wow! I don't know if this is a red flag, but this album was so relatable. For the most part. I mean, some of it wasn't. And also, it's Car Seat Headrest. I like it more than Twin Fantasy, but it still doesn't, like, hit as hard as, How to Leave Town. It's super good, though. I would definitely re-listen to this album a lot. Probably above Lando, but under Exotica. I don't know if I would listen to it over Exotica. Just a great Car Seat Headrest album. If you like Car Seat Headrest, listen to it. If not, I still think How to Leave Town is the best Car Seat Headrest album. We have Tyranny by The Voids, and The Voids, I listened to, they only have 2 albums, and I listened to their album Virtue last year, and I love that album. It's super good, no skips or anything like this. This is just bad. Tyranny, it's not bad. Okay, I said bad. It's just, in comparison to their other album, it's just bad. It's really in your face. It's hard to listen to sometimes, and it's kind of all over the place in terms of quality. I like a lot more of the songs than most people do, probably, but it's still not very good. I definitely would listen to it over all of these. It's kind of next to Hobo Rocket. It's kind of how I'm feeling about it, and I'd put Harry Styles above that. Where it's just Hobo Rocket's shorter though, so that's why it goes above. Now we have New Jeans, just all of their songs, because they don't really have an album. They're fine. I think they're K-pop, I want to say. They're fine. It's decent. It kind of goes next to J-pop, honestly. where they're just kind of consist. They're just fine. Probably above Rick Astley though. Not beating Elton John though. It's not beating Madman Across the Water. Moving on, we have Pink Tape by Lil Uzi. I was not a huge fan of this, and I usually like Lil Uzi. Plus, it doesn't help that it's pretty long as well. He tries to do like some rock stuff, and I do appreciate that he tries to do it, and I don't hate the rock stuff. I'm glad that he's experimenting, of course. But he's just the rap part of the album wasn't as good as his other stuff, as his other work. Yeah, this album was just not great. Super experimental, which I hope he continues with, of course. But I don't really like it. I don't really like Pink Tape. I definitely would listen to it above probably all of this stuff, though. Yeah, I'd listen to it above Gumboot. Next, we have Infinite Granite by Deaf Heaven. This is a very good album. It's like shoegazy. It's so good. It's a little more intense than shoegaze, but it's good. It's such a vibe of an album. Probably A+ in my opinion. I'd listen to it above this. Listen to it above Fall I Do. I'd listen to it above Once. Infest the Rats, Nets, Ghost Stories. This album is getting a lot higher than I thought it would, honestly. That's where it stops. I think I'd listen to Great Heights and Nosedives over it, though. Great Heights and Nosedives is a little more... I guess it changes enough compared to Infinite Granite, which has longer songs, but they're good. This is definitely a good album. I highly recommend listening to it if you're kind of into that kind of intense shoegazy type of music. Then we have Hallelujah by the Novembers. I don't remember much of this album besides it just being pretty consistent, pretty good. Kind of similar to Muck's album. I don't remember the name of it. I think I like Muck's album more than it though, but they're kind of in the same spot in my mind because they're pretty similar. Then we have Ha Ha by Lilac Boy. This is a weird kind of, is it like an EP? Yeah, this is a weird kind of EP. It's got some songs on it that I don't think are bad, but overall I don't know if it's like really my type of music, to be honest. Clipping. I'm just gonna auto put this into not my type of music. Again, I love Davey Diggs. I recognize a lot more songs on this album, and I also liked a lot more songs on this album than I did on Bodies Being Burned. But even then, I still think that it's just not my type of music, I think. Moving on, we have 2014 Forest Hills Drive by J. Cole. I actually really liked this album. I like J. Cole's flow. His lyricism is really good, and the subject matter's kind of relatable. And what he talks about is obviously the point of the album is also really good as well, like the concept and the story and themes behind it. I probably would listen to it above most of these, except maybe Cracker Island. And that's mainly just because of bias, just because I really like Cracker Island. Moving on, we have some rap songs by Earl Sweatshirt. I don't like this album. I really don't. I just don't like Earl's flow, and I don't like his beats. I don't really like anything about the album, to be honest. Which I usually like some niche artists like this. So I'd much rather listen to it above these, above that probably. Yeah. No, yeah, that feels good. Yeah, I just was not a huge fan, and I hear people talk about it so much, so I was really expecting something out of it, but it just ended up being like a lot of like short songs that, I mean, maybe they mean something, but it's just I'm not a huge fan of it. And it doesn't help that like the production on them was more raw, which some people like probably, but I was not a huge fan of it. We have Death Race for Love by Juice WRLD. Of course, Juice WRLD I actually never really listened to before, and this is a long album too. But this was really good all the way through. I didn't like every song off of it, but none of them like were like ruining the vibe or anything. They all kind of they all cultivated that kind of vibe really well. So I'd probably put it like kind of in B tier. Yeah, kind of in B tier. I mean, just because I don't like every song just because I say the songs like help cultivate the vibe doesn't mean that they don't also like just aren't they're just kind of mid. I kind of have the same vibe with it in terms of like my feeling towards where it ranks, in same as If You're Reading This, It's Too Late. Moving on, we have Wanna by Gunna. This was a fun album to listen to. Gunna's very fun. He has some very fun bars, very funny bars and all that stuff. And he also just has like really good production and beats and all that. It's quality. I'd listen to it over American Idiot. It gets stopped at The Record, though. I really like The Record by Boy Genius. Then we move on to Jazz by Tony Bennett. It's fine. Tony Bennett's voice is very impressive, and his singing is very nice, but it just doesn't really stick in my mind. This is more like you just listen to this just to get songs from it rather than like actually listen to it. So I'd probably put it in like B- tier. I definitely would listen to it over Drukqs. Listen to it over Zoo. It's not beaten Too Low for Zero, Heroes and Villains, and no, all Heroes Wear Capes though. Moving on, we have This Old Dog by Mac DeMarco. I actually enjoyed this. It was pretty consistent. The vibe was nice. Mac DeMarco's voice is pretty good for the songs. And while the songs are pretty simple, that's kind of the point. If I had to rank it, though, I'd probably do A. But at the very bottom of A. Like, I'd listen to Century Child over it. Wait, nah, that's a lie. I'd listen to it, but I'd listen to Folklore over This Old Dog. Death Metal by Panchico. This album has a really cool like background behind it, but in terms of like the actual album itself, it's fine. I think again, the concept behind it is really cool, but like in terms of the actual like quality of the music present, it's fine. It's better than Free. It's shorter than Gravity, so I'd probably listen to it, but it's not beating Disco 4. Disco 4 is better than it. Then we have 1975 by the Bothy Band. This got added. I listened to this because one of my friends recommended me listen to The 1975, which is a band. But I listened to this album over it, and it's like some Irish type of album, Irish music, pub music type of album. And I mean, this is pretty simple. It just obviously was not my type of music. I can't tell if it was bad or good. Moving on, we have The Fame Monster by Lady Gaga. So this one was pretty good. Lady Gaga's voice is really nice in this album, and she's really good at making them hooks. Obviously, this one also has a lot of her big hits like Bad Romance, Alejandro, Monster, I think, Telephone, Paparazzi. I believe that might be the last like big one. This album is just pretty good. Fame Monster. I'd put it up probably an A. I'd listen to it above Awaken My Love, over Slow Hand, under Dookie. I don't think it could beat Dookie. Also, just a quick side note, I think some of these albums I might have forgotten to put in this playlist, so we'll just rank them at the end once we find out which ones are missing. What am I doing? Okay. Moving on, we have Plastic Hearts by Miley Cyrus. This one started out really good, but then it just tapered off really hard, and I just was not a huge fan of the last part of it. So like I'd listen to the first part and that's about it. Then it's Skip City. I'd probably listen to it over these, over Bon Iver, over Progenies, Atlas One, Drukqs. It beats Zoo, it beats Jazz, but it's not beating these three. Continuing on, we have Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, which of course, like objectively, is very good. And listening through it all the way is a great experience, which is what I did. Obviously, it's not my type of music. I'm just not it sounds nice, but the use cases, I guess you could say, or the listening cases for when I'd listen to classical music are not very high. So I just don't think I can like very like accurately rank it compared to all these other things. Then we have Grapes Upon the Vine by TV Girl. Now, TV Girl tried to like incorporate gospel into his music style here, and I don't think it went very well. I think it just kind of sounded like out of place a lot of the time, or it like just kind of like actively made a song worse, or like he would try and like add on, like sing into a song that had gospel already and it just sounded awful. Also, like TV Girl, I've only heard one TV Girl album before this, and the mic quality improved between that album and this one, which you might think like, oh, that's good. Actually, it kind of made the atmosphere a bit worse, because now you could hear his voice so much clearer than you could on the other album. And I don't know, it kind of ruined the vibe a bit. So compared to the other TV Girl album, this was much worse. And just as an album in general, it's the music is kind of awkward, and I just don't think it works very well. I'd listen to it over Portrait, and I'd listen to it over Rage Against the Machine, over some rap songs, and Rob Zombie and Gumboot. It's the top of D tier. Actually, I'd listen to it over Jimmy Eat World, West of Eden, Trench, Tyranny, Fine Line. Okay, it's much better than compared to these albums. It loses its Sane Elsewhere. Moving on, we have You Will Never Know Why by Sweet Trip. I don't remember much of this album, to be honest with you. I mean, I think it sounds fine. It's just a nice background album. Nothing too crazy. And it's not like you're going to be like jamming along with it either. It's kind of like around these albums where it's like, it's there. I'd probably put it above this one because, I don't know, I just think it's a little bit more consistent and better. Moving on, we have Sometimes I Might Be Introvert by Little Sims. This one was really good. Little Sims has a great flow. Her lyricism's really good. Her production's really good. I also think her voice is just really unique. And so, like, it really makes the music a lot more interesting. I'd listen to it above Mini Mix. I'd listen to it above Wake. But it's probably not beating Hughes. I don't remember what... I already forgot the album name. Actually, It's not beating 2014 Forest Hill Drive. I would listen to that one over I Might Be Introvert. Yeah, just really solid. Moving on, we have Schlagenheim by Black Midi. As you can tell by the lack of likes, I just think it's just not my type of music. None of it really caught my eye, and none of it was really like anything I was interested in. I didn't like any of it. So I just think it's not my type of music. Then we have All Killer No Filler by Sum 41. It's good. It's really I don't know if it's aged very well, but it's fun. You listen to it when you're like, yeah, push against the man. It's definitely better than Birthplace. It's kind of here. I'd probably listen to them in this order. Maybe that. Yeah, that's how I feel about that. Then we have Crest by Blady. I just barely remember anything about this album. It just runs together in my mind. It's hyperpop. I know that. And it's pretty quirky. But other than that, it doesn't really have anything going for it. And it's just kind of there. I'd listen to pretty much everything. Yeah. That's how that would go. It's C tier. Then we have Free Wave 3 by Lucky. I did not like this at all. It's just not very good. I think just shows that I'm not a huge Lucky fan. I'd listen to probably some rap songs above it. Then we have Sun So Far, which is a little kind of jazzy outfit. They're not active anymore, but this is just their only album. It's good. It's got that nice loungy type of feel. Melancholy Mall is fine. Waikiki Beach is good. The real one is Weepin' Willow. Weepin' Willow is a really good song of this album. It's consistent. It's good. It's got that jazzy kind of loungy feel that sometimes you're looking for. In terms of where I'd put it, it's kind of going to be around the Rick Astley's. Probably, yeah. That's probably how I'd rank it. Then we have Songs About Jane. So this is when I listened to the Maroon 5 discography. This is their best album, hands down. It's got all the hits on it. Well, all of them have hits on it, but this is the one that's actually consistent, good all the way through, not super forgetful. I'd listen to it above Ghost Stories, but not above Caro Caro Bonito. Moving on, we have It Won't Be Soon Before Long. I hate this album. It's so bad. It's not, the songs themselves aren't actively bad, but it's just not great at all. I'd listen to, you're asking, can we be over by the second song? I'd listen to Portrait above it. I'd probably listen to Neptune's Gate. Yeah. And we have Hands All Over by Maroon 5. This one's a little better, but it's not amazing. So I'd probably rate it here. I'd listen to it above that, but under West of Eden. Then we have Overexposed. This one's much better. It's got a little bit of midness here, but it's got a really strong beginning and kind of a fine outro. It's definitely higher up. It's probably B minus tier. You throw it on in the background, probably around Miley Cyrus. Then we have V, really strong intro. That's about it, which is just a worse version of Overexposed. This is going down to C tier. I'd probably listen to it Above I'm in Your Mind Fuzz. It's got some bad lyrics too, like just embarrassing lyrics. I'd probably listen to it above Hobo Rocket. Then we have Red Pill Blues. This is actually like a good album. This is like one of their rare good albums. It's like got some good songs like that aren't hits. It's probably one of my favorite Maroon 5 albums outside of Songs About Jane. It's above Folklore, above St. Louis to Liverpool, above Stick Season, Siamese Dream. Ooh, it might beat Siamese Dream. It's really consistent. It's good. Probably doesn't beat Around the Fur though. Then we have The Rest, which is an EP for The Record by Boy Genius. Super short, so I mean you're not really like losing your lifespan listening to it. But like most of the songs, half the songs on an EP are just mid to bad, which is not great. So I'd listen to it over Jimmy Eat World, The Middle. What is it? Bleed American or something. Because at least it's short. And same thing over Hands All Over. Probably beats West of Eden too, and Trench. And such a forgetful album. But it's under Tyranny. I'd much rather listen to Tyranny than that. Moving on, we have Geordie by Maroon 5. This one has a strong ending. That's it. The rest is just so mid it hurts. So this is going down here. It's above Crest, but under I'm in Your Mind Fuzz. Then we have Perfect From Now On by Built to Spill. I thought I'd like Built to Spill. Like, it seems like the type of music I'd be into, but it just wasn't anything. I'd at least listen to this because I think they're about the same length, and this has at least some good riffs. Then we have Mint Jams by Cassiopeia. Good lord, this is an amazing album. This didn't take me on an adventure, but it's just too good to deny. It's so good. It's above Heaven to a Tortured Mind, but Kid A and Mint Jams are so hard to compare, in terms of which one's better, because Mint Jams isn't really an experience, but it's just such a good album. And then Kid A is an experience, even though not all of its songs are hits. I think just based on experience, I'll give Kid A above Mint Jams, but they are close. This is a damn good album. Then we have Utopia by Travis Scott. It's pretty good. I like it. I liked it. So I listened to Birds on the Trap, Sing McKnight, and I listened to Rodeo last year, and I was not a fan of either of those. Astro World is still my favorite Travis Scott album, but this one came close. Not came close, but it was better. I liked it more than those other two albums. So I'd probably put it in B+. I'd listen to it over Pressure. I'd listen to it over Stone's Reach, Without Warning, and MGMT. And then probably Lando. Not Teens of Denial, though. I'm actually going to lower Stone's Reach just because the more I look at it, the more I'm yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's around there. Oh, and speaking of which, Mint Jams was Say Chili's, but better. Way better. Oh, forgot to show the tier list. Okay, moving on. We have Self-Titled by Shed Life. So this was a little band that found out. It was good. Nothing too crazy. Pretty consistent. It's B+. I'd probably rank it above New Jeans, but under American Idiot. And then finally, Oh, actually, we have 2 albums left. So we have 009 Sound System, which is the you've heard of it with Dreamscape and all that stuff. This album is actually not that bad. It's very good in the background, so it's kind of around these albums. Although it's a little more attention grabbing than you'd think. I'd listen to it over Twin Fantasy, unironically, and I'd listen to it over Free. I'd listen to it over Gravity, but death metal is probably where it stops. I'd probably listen to death metal over it. And that's it for the playlist, but we have one album that I forgot to put in there, and that's Beautiful Life by Rick Astley. This is a pretty damn good album. I think it might be my favorite of his. It's got a lot of good songs on it. It's super good. I'd listen to it above Cracker Island. I'd listen to it above... actually, no. Mothership is where it gets stopped. Because it's really good, but also Mothership just kind of like, I don't know, has higher highs than it, even though its lows are a bit lower. But yeah. And that will be my 2023 album tier list. This was a great year. It had some really good albums, and we had some pretty bad albums. But overall, this was I'd say a pretty good year for music, in terms of like my music deepening. Obviously, like only like 7 of these albums came out this year, so this isn't like albums that came out in 2023. But yeah. I hope you enjoyed it. If you listened all the way through, wow. Thanks for listening to me ramble. If you just were hopping from album to album, that's fine with me. Yeah. Enjoy.